Chapter 597. Zhou Hong, why are you here? When LV Shan saw the man, she looked anxious. Zhou Hong chuckled. LV Shan, are you concerned about me? Don't worry. With me around, no one can hurt you. As he spoke, he got into an attacking posture and raised the long sword in his hand. There was a sharp radiance circulating on it. Zhou Hong, stop messing around. Who cares about you? I just don't want you to die. LV Shan said in a bad mood. This Zhou Hong had pursued her for many years and persevered. It was impossible for her to not be moved at all. However, she always felt that this fellow was too foolish. Although his cultivation talent was not bad, he could not enter LV Shan's eyes. The rest of the LV family members shook their heads. The three of them were not a match for Venerable Fiery Dragon, even when they joined forces. Furthermore, Zhou Hong was only in the early stage of the Xiantian realm. Old man, take this. When Zhou Hong's aura reached its peak, he slashed out with his sword, and a swooshing sound could be heard in the air. The sword radiance shot out and slashed towards Venerable Fiery Dragon. Venerable Fiery Dragon squinted his eyes and sneered in the face of Zhou Hong's powerful attack. He waved the red sword in his hand gently, and a red radiance flew out. When it collided with Zhou Hong's sword radiance, both of them disappeared. At the same time, Venerable Fiery Dragon took a step forward and stabbed his sword radiance towards Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong hurriedly blocked with his sword. When the tip of his sword touched the blade of the sword, the long sword was bent in an arc. At the same time, Venerable Fiery Dragon took a step forward. Under the force of his sword, Zhou Hong's long sword was broken from the middle. Not good. In shock, Zhou Hong hurriedly retreated. However, he was still hit by the sword radiance, and a ghastly wound appeared on his chest. You are so weak, and yet you dare to come and save me. You are really overestimating yourself. Venerable Fiery Dragon snorted. Just as he was about to continue speaking, a figure barged in. It was Li Changsheng. Old man, when it comes to accepting disciples, both parties have to be willing to do so. There is no reason to accept disciples by force. Huh, could it be that you also want to help the Liu family? That tall man is at least at the Xiantian stage and has some strength. But you look like you don't even have the strength to trust a chicken. Could it be that you want to use words to make me back off? Venerable Fiery Dragon could not help but laugh. It's a pity that I, Venerable Fiery Dragon, don't like to waste my breath with others. I only believe in using my fists. Really? Li Changsheng smiled. I originally planned to convince you with virtue, but since you don't like to reason with your mouth, I'll let you have a taste of my fist. With that, he raised his fist and punched towards Venerable Fiery Dragon. Ha! Brat, you still want to use force against me. Your fist is as soft as a woman's. Venerable Fiery Dragon had a look of disdain. However, when Li Changsheng's fist was completely thrown out, there was a sudden roar. Then, Fiery Dragon Venerable was like a scarecrow that was hit by a car. He flew out of the house and crashed into the wall, creating a hole in the reinforced concrete wall. Mr. Li, you're here. When Liu Bai saw Li Changsheng, he had mixed feelings. In the past, he could not wait for Li Changsheng to die. But now, Li Changsheng had become the savior of the Liu family. Liu Tian, the head of the Liu family, Liu Lei, Liu Shan, and Liu Jiala came forward to greet Li Changsheng at the same time. Greetings, Mr. Li. Zhou Hong, who was slightly injured by Venerable Fiery Dragon, was completely dumbfounded when he saw the scene in front of him. This ordinary-looking guy was actually an expert? Everyone, please don't be so polite. Li Changsheng made an empty gesture, and only then did the people of the Liu family straighten their backs. He then turned to Zhou Hong and laughed. How is it? I said that I'm the expert who taught Liu Jiala the skill. Do you believe me now? Zhou Hong still felt that it was unreal and nodded his head subconsciously. Just as Zhou Hong was about to say something, a figure suddenly flew in from the hole in the wall. Before the figure arrived, the red sword light had already turned into a fire dragon and slashed towards Li Changsheng. Be careful, Mr. Li, Liu Bai and the rest reminded him. However, Li Changsheng did not even lift his head. The sword light fell without any obstruction. When the sword light was less than half a meter away from Li Changsheng, it seemed to have sunk into a swamp and could not move forward. How dare you compete with me, Li Changsheng, for a disciple with such trashy swordsmanship? Li Changsheng shook his head and slowly raised his palm. He then gently patted the sword that was floating above his head. It was a soft and powerless palm strike, but when it landed on the red long sword, the shadow of a fire dragon struggled and roared. Then, under everyone's incredulous gazes, the red longsword that could cut through iron like mud was like an ice cube that had met a flame, constantly melting. Very quickly, the entire sword had completely turned into a red liquid, dripping onto the ground. Venerable Fiery Dragon looked at his empty hand and was dumbfounded. His opponent's palm seemed to have the power to turn something rotten into something magical. His ferocious killing move was like being bitten by an ant in the eyes of Venerable Fiery Dragon. Run! Venerable Fiery Dragon suddenly had an idea. He turned and ran toward the hole in the wall. At that time, he felt that it was a great humiliation for him to have a hole in the wall. But now he was grateful that there was a hole for him to escape through. If you had escaped after I hit you, I wouldn't have bothered with you. However, you chose to fly in. Since you're in, it won't be easy for you to get out. Li Changsheng shook his head. Then, he raised his palm, and suddenly, a whirlpool appeared in his palm. At the next moment, Venerable Fiery Dragon, who was already in front of the hole, flew back involuntarily. Finally, he landed in Li Changsheng's hands. Li Changsheng grabbed his neck and squeezed it gently. He let out a scream like a pig that was being slaughtered. Ah, friend, please spare me. Please spare me. Actually, Li Changsheng did not use much strength. However, Venerable Fiery Dragon was already afraid of Li Changsheng's methods. He was afraid that Li Changsheng would accidentally break his neck. He then sealed the inner energy of Venerable Fiery Dragon and threw him on the ground. Li Changsheng sat on the main seat and waved to LV Jiala, who was still in a daze. Come over and let me take a look. LV Jiala did not dare to disobey and walked to Li Changsheng's side. After LV Bai returned, he had already told his family about Li Changsheng's deeds. Now, in the hearts of the LV family, Li Changsheng was as scary as a ghost. In such a short period of time, you have actually activated the fire and wind blood meridians in your body. You are indeed qualified to be my disciple. Now, I want to take you in as an in-name disciple. Are you willing? Just an in-name disciple. LV Jiala's face was filled with disappointment. Chapter 598. Why? You don't want to? Li Changsheng looked at LV Jiala's frowning face, and his face darkened slightly. Although LV Jiala's Fire Phoenix bloodline was 1 in a million, her comprehension was not high. It was because of her heartfelt passion for cultivation that Li Changsheng decided to take her as a disciple. Aptitude, comprehension, and perseverance. How high a person's final achievement was dependent on the combination of many factors. It was not just a bloodline. If one could become a peerless master with a certain bloodline, then although all kinds of bloodlines were rare in the world, if one wanted to find them, one could still find many. With the help of elixirs, wouldn't it mean that a group of peerless masters could be created in an instant? In fact, it was not like this. The reason why LV Jiala's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds in such a short period of time was that she had worked hard before. It was just that her path was wrong. As the saying goes, thick accumulation leads to slow growth. From Li Changsheng's perspective, LV Jiala's rapid cultivation progress would continue for a while and would stop in the future. At that time, although her cultivation speed would be faster than ordinary people's cultivation, it would definitely not be as heaven-defying as it was now. This kind of Fire Phoenix bloodline could support her cultivation to the Vajra realm. If she wanted to step into the mysterious Finger realm, it would depend on her comprehension. And this was precisely LV Jiala's shortcoming. If she had a master like Li Changsheng to guide her, she would naturally be able to pass through it more easily. Otherwise, she would have to be like many cultivators, enduring this hurdle for decades and slowly breaking through the barrier with painstaking effort. However, her final achievement would stop at the mysterious Finger realm, and there would be no hope for the legendary Earth Immortal Great Tao. Of course, the premise of all this was that LV Jala cultivated the cultivation method Li Changsheng passed on to her. Otherwise, if it was an ordinary fire cultivation method, she might stop at the Vajra realm for the rest of her life. Mr. Li, of course I'm not willing. With my aptitude, not only in the north, but even in the entire cultivation world, I'm considered a favored one. Countless sects are willing to take me in as a disciple, but you actually only want me to be your registered disciple. Isn't that a bit too much? Although LV Jala was still a little afraid of Li Changsheng, she still straightened her neck and said, Jala, how can you talk to Mr. Li like that? Do you even know the rules? LV Jala's father, LV Lei, reprimanded. After reprimanding her daughter, she turned to look at Li Changsheng. Mr. Li, although Jia Lu is a little straightforward, she is not a troublemaker. You have seen her aptitude. Fiery Dragon Immortal wants to take her as his disciple no matter what. If she joins a super sect and becomes the disciple of the sect leader, she will definitely be taken in as a true disciple. However, you only let her be a registered disciple. Isn't that a little inappropriate? I'll let her be a registered disciple. As long as she performs well, I'll naturally accept her as my official disciple. This is just a process of testing her. Why aren't you willing? Hearing Li Changsheng's words, LV Jala shook his head. With my aptitude, I should have been taken in as a closed-door disciple directly. To think that there would be a test. I feel that this is an insult to me. At this point, LV Jala straightened his chest and looked straight at Li Changsheng. Mr. Li, if you don't accept me as your last disciple, I won't acknowledge you as my master. After LV Jala finished speaking, everyone in the LV family remained silent. Obviously, they had silently agreed with LV Jala's behavior. The cultivation technique that I imparted to you previously was to see if you could activate the Fire Phoenix bloodline. This is my first test for you. The next step is to take you in as a registered disciple. This is to see if you can maintain your original intention and continue to cultivate diligently. This is the second test. When you break through to the inborn realm, you will be considered to have truly entered the Tao through martial arts. This will mean that you have passed the third test. At that time, I will take you in as my last disciple and guide you carefully to help you reach the Vajra realm as soon as possible. It's a pity that you have only passed the first of the 3 tests. You're not even willing to accept the second test. This is really disappointing. Li Changsheng shook his head. Since Mr. Li is so disappointed in me, I think you don't have to take me in as a disciple anymore. Let me join another sect. LV Jala raised her chin arrogantly. In the past few days, her cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. This news had spread throughout the entire Fengyao city. All kinds of praises poured in. There were even a few super sects in the north that had extended an olive branch to her. This also made her feel a little smug. She felt that with her talent and aptitude, even if she did not acknowledge Li Changsheng as her master, her achievements would not be bad. Therefore, when Li Changsheng said that he wanted to take her in as a registered disciple, she was 1,000 times, 10,000 times unwilling. Of course, I will not accept you as a registered disciple. You have disappointed me. Li Changsheng shook his head. Since you want to join another sect and take someone else as your master, that is your freedom. I will not stop you. However, the cultivation technique you are currently practicing is something I passed down to you. Although it is not a divine technique that can shock the heavens and make ghosts and gods weep, I cannot allow you to practice it. Thus, I will take it back. As soon as Li Changsheng's words fell, the faces of LV Jala and the LV family changed. Recently, they had been very excited about LV Jala's superb cultivation talent, but they had neglected a fact. The reason why LV Jala was where she was today was because of the cultivation technique that Li Changsheng had taught her. If the cultivation technique was taken away, LV Jala's cultivation speed would not be as heaven-defying as before, even with the help of the Fire Phoenix bloodline. Li Changsheng, you are so ruthless. I didn't acknowledge you as my master, so you took back the cultivation technique. I didn't expect you to be such a vile person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. LV Jala said fiercely. Because of the anger in her heart, She forgot her fear of Li Changsheng for a moment. Jiala, don't be rude, Liu Bai hurriedly reprimanded. Although Liu Bai was also a little unhappy with Li Changsheng's behavior, he was still more clear-headed and knew what the consequences would be if he angered an expert like Li Changsheng, who knew that LV Jiala simply turned a deaf ear to Liu Bai's words and just stared at Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng smiled. You can say whatever you want. Since I can give you the cultivation technique, I can take it back. It's mine. As soon as he finished speaking, he directly raised his hand and grabbed LV Jiala's head. LV Jiala wanted to dodge, but found that her whole body seemed to be stuck in a swamp and couldn't move. Soon, as Li Changsheng's hand fell a few centimeters above LV Jiala's head, transparent and densely packed characters were pulled out by his hand gesture. It was the cultivation technique. After the characters were pulled out, he casually grabbed them and crushed them, dissipating in the air. LV Jiala's eyes showed a bit of confusion at first, and then she painfully shook her head. She found that the cultivation technique that had almost integrated into her instincts had disappeared into thin air in her mind. Wiping away the memories in their minds, the people of the Liu family were completely shocked. Chapter 599. LV Jiala was in a daze for more than 10 seconds before tears welled up in her eyes. She stared fixedly at Li Changsheng, her eyes filled with resentment. Damn you, Li. You're really heartless. You actually erased the cultivation method that you passed on to me, just like that. If you erased it, then so be it. With my Fire Phoenix bloodline, even if you didn't pass on the cultivation method to me, I'll still be a proud son of heaven and can still reach the peak of martial arts. When I become famous and become a top expert, you'll regret what you've done today. At this point, Li Changsheng actually felt a vague, murderous intent from LV Jiala. Although this murderous intent was covered up, it was still very strong. You actually want to kill me? Li Changsheng's gaze turned cold, and the corner of his mouth revealed a hint of ridicule. Don't forget, if it weren't for my appearance, your Fire Phoenix bloodline wouldn't have been activated at all. So, not only do I have to take back the cultivation method that I passed on to you, but I also have to shatter the Fire Phoenix bloodline in your body. If you really have the opportunity in the future to reconstruct your bloodline, then it will have nothing to do with me anymore. Li Changsheng finished speaking. LV Jiala's face instantly turned pale, and her eyes revealed a look of fear. What? You want to shatter my Fire Phoenix bloodline? Not only LV Jiala, but everyone in the LV family also had a drastic change in expression. If Li Changsheng only erased LV Jiala's cultivation method, although it would have a great impact on LV Jiala, she who had the Fire Phoenix bloodline naturally didn't have to worry about finding another fire-type cultivation method. However, if the Fire Phoenix bloodline was shattered, then LV Jiala would really be beaten back to her original state. Mr. Li, you can't. LV Jiala's grandfather, LV Tian, had a pleading look in his eyes. At this moment, everyone in the LV family panicked. Li Changsheng, you can't do this. I just don't want to be your disciple, and you're so ruthless. Doesn't your conscience hurt? LV Jiala was also afraid. Without the Fire Phoenix bloodline, it was equivalent to losing everything. Conscience? Huh. Li Changsheng shook his head. I taught you a cultivation method to help you activate the Fire Phoenix bloodline, but in the end, you relied on this little bit of capital to rely on other sections. Originally, if it was just this, I would have just erased the cultivation method I taught you. But what about you? Because of this, you actually developed hatred for me and wanted to kill me. If an ingrate like you really became a peerless expert, then wouldn't I have left behind a hidden danger for myself? Originally, even if you became a peerless expert, the trouble you caused me wouldn't affect me at all. However, if I were to create an enemy with my own hands, I wouldn't do such a bad deal. As he spoke, Li Changsheng pointed a finger at LV Jiala. Instantly, LV Jiala felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. A fire phoenix flew out from LV Jiala's body, spreading its wings and letting out a loud cry. When it saw Li Changsheng, the fire phoenix revealed a look of hatred. It opened its mouth and spat out a ball of flames, attacking Li Changsheng. This fire phoenix was originally the manifestation of LV Jala's bloodline. LV Jala hated Li Changsheng in his heart, so this fire phoenix naturally treated Li Changsheng as an enemy. As the flames fell, Li Changsheng casually scattered them. Then he swung his fist at the fire phoenix. Bang! A loud rumbling sound rang out. The fire phoenix let out a mournful cry before it was smashed into pieces by Huang Xiaolong's fist. In an instant, LV Jala collapsed to the ground. There was no longer any light in his eyes. He looked as if he had been seriously ill for 3 months. Jala, are you all right? LV Jala's aunt LV Shan and father LV Lei immediately rushed over. At this time, Lu Tian and Lu Bai's eyes were filled with regret. From the moment Li Changsheng smashed the fire phoenix with his fist, they knew that the rest of LV Jala's life was ruined. The rising star of the Lu family fell just like that. And all of this was the Lu family's own fault. Lu Bai smiled bitterly. Because of Li Changsheng, the Snow God's Temple fell from a first-class sect to a second-class sect. Originally, if there was a LV Jala, the Lu family would not decline because of this. Instead, their status would rise and reach a new height. But now this hope was completely gone. Success is because of the same person. Failure is also because of the same person. Lu Bai muttered to himself. Zhou Hong, who had witnessed all of this from the side, looked at Li Changsheng with a bit of fear and excitement in his eyes. As for Venerable Fire Dragon, whose true Yuan was imprisoned by Li Changsheng, there was only fear in his eyes. Previously, when he was defeated by Li Changsheng, he had already seen how powerful Li Changsheng was. And the series of events that followed made him understand the gap between him and Li Changsheng. Originally, when Li Changsheng heard that LV Jala had activated the Fire Phoenix bloodline, he was rather excited. But now, he had disappeared without a trace. With a sigh, he removed the restriction on Venerable Fire Dragon. Just as Venerable Fire Dragon wanted to beg for mercy, Li Changsheng waved his hand dispiritedly and said, "Get lost." Yes, yes. Venerable Fire Dragon nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice. He then turned around and ran out of the Lu family's mansion. Li Changsheng did not speak to the Lu family anymore. Instead, he walked straight out of the mansion. When he arrived at Fengyao City by plane with LV Jala, he felt that although LV Jala had a bit of a temper, she was not a bad person. In terms of temperament, she met the requirements for him to accept a disciple. However, he did not expect that after her Fire Phoenix bloodline was activated, she suddenly became a popular target in the eyes of all the major sects in the cultivation world. Just like how a poor person suddenly became rich, if she could not control her own temperament, she would never become a powerful person. Li Changsheng did not regret destroying her Fire Phoenix bloodline, but he could not help but feel a little uncomfortable in his heart. After leaving the Lu family's mansion, he did not walk far before a figure chased after him, panting heavily. Senior, wait for me." When he turned around, he saw Zhou Hong chasing after him, panting heavily. Previously, he was stabbed in the chest by Venerable Fire Dragon, and his elemental chi was damaged. Now, after running for a few steps, the wound that had just scabbed over started to bleed again. "Why are you chasing after me? Furthermore, I am younger than you. Why are you calling me senior?" Li Changsheng furrowed his brows. Zhou Hong waved his hand. "Although you look younger than me, you are so powerful. You must be an expert who has regained your youth. So of course I have to call you senior. As for why I chased after you and met an expert like you, shouldn't I seize the immortal opportunity and acknowledge you as my master?" Hearing Zhou Hong's explanation, Li Changsheng was stunned. I didn't expect this silly kid to guess correctly. However, he was rather surprised that the other party wanted to acknowledge him as his master. "Don't you like LV Shan? Didn't you see that I just destroyed LV Jala's Fire Phoenix bloodline? Although the Lu family doesn't say it on the surface, they hate me to the core. If you acknowledge me as your master, how will you have a chance to woo LV Shan?" Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Zhou Hong looked a little dejected. "I actually understand that LV Shan doesn't like me. No matter how hard I try, it's useless. If this continues, I'm afraid I won't be able to woo LV Shan in this lifetime. However, if I can acknowledge you as my master, although LV Shan will definitely hate me now, she might change her mind when I become a peerless expert one day. I can tell that a strong woman like LV Shan needs a stronger man to conquer her. Therefore, I have to become a stronger man. As he spoke, Zhou Hong clenched his fists and made a gesture of encouragement. Li Changsheng could not help but shake his head. This guy was already in his 30s, but his actions were still so childish. To put it nicely, he was still a child. To put it bluntly, he was just a fool. No wonder LV Shan doesn't like him. Chapter 600. You want to be my disciple, but I didn't agree to take you in. Li Changsheng looked at the silly guy in front of him and shook his head. He was willing to take LV Jiala as his disciple because of the dormant fire phoenix bloodline in LV Jiala's body. As long as it was activated and nurtured a little, he would have extraordinary results. However, although Zhou Hong's cultivation talent was not bad and he was already in the Khanate realm at such a young age, he was still far from LV Jiala's bloodline talent. Moreover, LV Jiala alone was enough to make Li Changsheng sad. He did not want to teach another ingrate. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Zhou Hong immediately became anxious. Mr. Li, I beg you, please take me in as your disciple. I will train well with you, and I will definitely not let you down. Don't worry, I will definitely not be the second LV Jiala. Hearing Zhou Hong's words, Li Changsheng could not help but be amused. The other party was so silly that he did not expect him to see through his thoughts. Your martial arts talent is just average. I don't know how you cultivated to the Khanate realm. Li Changsheng shook his head. Actually, the method I used to cultivate to the Xiantian realm was very simple. My father gave me a set of cultivation techniques to cultivate. Whenever I had nothing to do, I would cultivate the contents of the cultivation technique. After that, I inexplicably reached the Xiantian realm. When I broke through to the Xiantian realm, my entire family held a feast for 3 days to celebrate. Inexplicably broke through to the Khanate realm? This surprised Li Changsheng a little. After carefully sizing up Zhou Hong a few more times, he immediately understood. Although this guy was silly, he was not really stupid. It was just a kind of innate nature. His mind was pure, and he did not have many tricks up his sleeves. As a result, he had somehow stumbled upon the essence of cultivation, which was to focus and not rely on external things. It seems that even a blockhead like you has his good fortune. Forget it. I can't deny everyone just because of LV Jiala. How about this? I'll teach you a cultivation method called spring on a withered tree. Cultivate it well, and just like LV Jiala, I'll set a few tests for you. If you can meet my standards, you can become my disciple. Li Changsheng suddenly changed his mind. He raised his hand and pointed at Zhou Hong's forehead. Suddenly, Zhou Hong's body shook and his eyes lit up. Spring for withered trees, corresponding to a blockhead. How wonderful! Li Changsheng laughed a few times and continued on his way. When Zhou Hong noticed that there was an additional cultivation method in his mind, he immediately caught up with him with excitement. The two of them went out of the Liu family's mansion and went straight to the station. They got on the train to Qin City. This trip to the north came to an end. Snow God Palace, Mount Xianwang, Fengyao, Liu family. Li Changsheng originally wanted to reason with them. Unfortunately, in this world, reason with words was not as easy to reason with fists. The last time he came to the north, he came by plane. This time, he went back by car. There were 2 stops along the way. The journey was long, but Li Changsheng did not find it boring. Cultivation was the cultivation of the mind. After living for countless years, the most precious time for ordinary people happened to be something that Li Changsheng could squander. Zhou Hong looked silly, but he was really rich. According to him, his family was a family of cultivators. At the same time, they had accumulated a considerable amount of wealth in the secular world. Therefore, this guy was a real rich second generation. As a result, Li Changsheng didn't hold back on the food and drink expenses along the way, and let Zhou Hong pay for everything. The spring for withered trees was a cultivation method of the wood element. It seemed to be tailor-made for Zhou Hong. He had just cultivated for half a day, and his body exuded a majestic aura of life. This was an unexpected surprise for Li Changsheng. Originally, he was a little hesitant about whether to accept such a disciple. Now, he felt that he was far more suitable to be his disciple than LV Jiala. The car traveled for an entire day. When they arrived at Qin City, it was already 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. After leaving the station, they had breakfast near the station. Then, they took a taxi to the temporary stronghold in the north. They happened to pass by the huge manor in the north of the Heavenly Way Alliance. It was now a ruin. The last time Li Changsheng and Zhuang Hua fought, all the buildings were destroyed. The taxi driver was still lamenting. A good manor was demolished out of thin air. I don't know what kind of project is going on. Zhou Hong's eyes, however, shone brightly. An elder in his family happened to be active in Qin City. He knew some inside information. According to his elder, there was a cultivation expert in Qin City. He fought with a genius of the Kunlun sect and razed a manor to the ground. It was said that the genius of the Kunlun sect had fallen here, which caused a great sensation in the world of cultivation. However, their family was too small, so the information they received was incomplete. They only had a rough idea of what had happened, and they didn't know the details. Master, if you take action, can you create such an effect? Zhou Hong asked in a low voice. Li Changsheng did not officially accept him as a disciple. He asked him to call him Mr. Li. However, this guy did not change. Li Changsheng could only let him be. When Zhou Hong saw the ruins, he inexplicably felt that it had something to do with Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng did not answer him. He just looked at the ruins and was lost in thought. Thinking of that battle, Zhuang Hua was indeed a peerless genius. It was a pity that he met Li Changsheng. If he were to encounter an even more powerful opponent one day, would he end up like Zhuang Hua and die so easily? Thinking of this, he suddenly felt that his master had taught him the 9 transformations of celestial demons, which prevented him from breaking through to the Earth's celestial realm. Could it be a disguised form of protection for him? Throughout the boundless years of his existence, he'd never seen a single earthly immortal realm expert. Throughout the ages, there were numerous geniuses, so how could it be possible that no one had broken through to the earthly immortal realm? Or perhaps those people that had broken through to the earthly immortal realm weren't in this world anymore. Li Changsheng suddenly had some expectations. If he could break through to the Earth's celestial realm one day, would he open the door to another world? In that world, there were many experts, immortals, and Buddhas. At that time, with the strong body that he had refined in 99 lives, he would also have the power to protect himself and create a wonderful life. Then, could the master who taught him this set of cultivation methods also be in that world? While his thoughts were drifting, he was patted on the shoulder. Li Changsheng woke up with a start and saw Zhou Hong's silly face. Master, we've arrived at the place, he said. He turned his head and looked out of the window. As expected, it was the temporary stronghold in the north. After paying the taxi and getting out of the car, Li Changsheng could not help but take a deep breath. Then he asked Zhou Hong to knock on the door. Qin City, I'm finally back. It's only been a few days, but it feels like a lifetime. Chapter 601. In the main hall of the Heavenly Tao Union's northern stronghold, the upper echelons of the northern region were gathered together. They were all frowning and sighing. You said that elderly has already left for some time, and we haven't even heard from him. Could he have just left and not come back? Ying Tianming had a worried look on his face. Li Changsheng had killed the Kunlun sect's young sect master, Zhuang Hua. The Kunlun sect was enraged and had been constantly pressuring the Heavenly Tao Union. Although the Heavenly Tao Union was known as the Imperial Secret Service of the cultivation world, its overall strength could not be compared to the Kunlun sect. Furthermore, the sect master of the Heavenly Tao Union was a disciple of the Kunlun sect. When Mr. Li left, I suggested that we should be more careful. Now that he has been gone for such a long time and Senior Wei has been summoned to the headquarters, under the strong pressure of the Kunlun sect, I'm afraid that it won't be long before our northern region falls apart and changes. Duan Yu, The chief steward echoed. I don't think Elder Li is that kind of person. Ouyang Ruo argued. When Wei Gingxiu went to the headquarters to compete for the position of alliance leader, she and Fu Guohao were in charge of assisting Li Changsheng. In the northern region, she and Fu Guohao were the closest to Li Changsheng. What do you think is the use? If he wants to come back, why hasn't he come back? I think he's running away to avoid punishment. Duan Yu snorted. Fu Guohao had been silent. If Elder Li doesn't come back, we can't do anything to him. Our first problem is that Elder Wei went to the headquarters and was grounded by the alliance leader. We have to think of a way to rescue Elder Wei. Ouyang Ruo suggested. Everyone fell into silence. The northern region was the weakest of the 5 major divisions of the Heavenly Dao Union. Now, even Elder Wei was imprisoned. The western region was already unhappy with the northern region because of Meandering Shang's death. The other major divisions had also decided to stand by and watch. The northern region was now in a precarious situation. Isn't Elder Li's girlfriend in Qin City? I think Elder Li values his girlfriend. Why don't? Duan Yu was interrupted by Ouyang Ruo. No, what you're doing is simply too despicable. Moreover, if you really do it, you'll anger Elder Li. Once he returns, you'll have a good time. Duan Yu had only said those words in a moment of desperation. Hearing Ouyang Ruo's words, he quickly shut his mouth. Just as the few of them were worried sick, a subordinate suddenly rushed in. Elder Li is back. Elder Li is back. Soon, 2 figures strode into the room. Everyone in the room stood up instantly. It was Li Changsheng and Zhou Hong. While they were talking, Li Changsheng was waiting outside the door, but with his hearing ability, Li Changsheng heard every word. After entering the door, Ouyang Ruo, Fu Guohao, Yin Tianming, and even Duan Yu hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, Elder Li. Elder Li, you came back just in time. A few days ago, Elder Wei Gingxiu was summoned by the Alliance Master and is now under house arrest. Kunlun is still constantly pressuring the Heavenly Dao Union, demanding an explanation from the Heavenly Dao Union. We don't know what to do these days. When Ouyang Ruo saw Li Changsheng, she spilled the beans and told him everything. That's right. Elder Li, you came back just in time. The worry on Yin Tianming's face dissipated a lot. I knew Elder Li wouldn't just leave like this. Fu Guohao's expression was more excited. Elder Li, the North is waiting for you to come back and take charge. Duan Yu took 2 steps forward with a fawning expression. Suddenly, Li Changsheng's palm flew out, and a palm strike landed on Duan Yu's body. The manager of Shuo City was sent flying and crashed into the wall. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. The sudden turn of events left everyone in the room at a loss. Elder Li, I don't know what wrong I've done to make you attack me. Duan Yu clutched his chest. Every time he moved, he felt a piercing pain. He glared at Li Changsheng with anger on his face. If it wasn't for Li Changsheng's strength that he didn't dare to offend, he would have already cursed at him. Just now, he squeezed out a smile to welcome Li Changsheng. I'm not in Qin City. You dare to have ideas about my girlfriend? I'm already being merciful by not killing you. Li Changsheng coldly snorted. Duan Yu's body trembled. The people who were originally puzzled now understood what was going on. However, they were even more shocked in their hearts. When they were talking, Li Changsheng should still be outside. He actually knew what happened in the room. Could it be that this Elder Li could predict the future? But no matter what, everyone had a direct understanding of Li Changsheng's strength. Elder Li, please calm down. Head steward Duan Yu spoke without thinking. He definitely wouldn't dare to do this. Yin Tianming hurriedly came forward to smooth things over. He was really afraid that Li Changsheng would kill Duan Yu in a fit of anger. There weren't many experts in the north. Even if one died, it would be a great loss. Li Changsheng snorted coldly, but Yin Tianming felt as if a giant hammer was pounding on his heart. Tung. He took 2 steps back. You're not that much stronger than him. After saying that, he directly sat down on the main seat. Zhou Hong could only obediently stand behind Li Changsheng. Fu Guohao and Ouyang Ruo looked at each other and didn't say anything. Indeed, it was fine that they didn't trust Li Changsheng. However, They actually had the idea of using Yu Wei to threaten Li Changsheng. Let alone Li Changsheng, anyone would be angry. Duan Yu was injured, but he didn't dare to leave. He stood there obediently. Only Fu Guohao and Ouyang Ruo had a clear conscience. After receiving Li Changsheng's nod, they sat down on the sofa. Mr. Li, about Elder Wei. Although Ouyang Ruo knew that Li Changsheng was in a fit of anger, Wei Gingxiu was trapped in the headquarters. The North had no leader. They had to think of a way to solve this. Since it's because of the pressure from the Kunlun sect, and because of me, I naturally won't sit back and do nothing. Tomorrow, I will set off for the headquarters of the Heavenly Dao Union. Didn't the Kunlun sect always want the Heavenly Dao Union to give them an explanation? Then I will give them an explanation. When Li Changsheng said this, he was imposing without being angry. Although he didn't make any extra movements, the air in the entire room seemed to have solidified. This was the power of the finger profound realm. Body and Tao were one. Every move contained the power of heaven and earth. It could be said that the finger profound realm and ordinary cultivators were on two different levels. It was like a commoner facing an emperor. Even if the emperor just glared at the commoner would be terrified. All right, arrange a room for this kid. I'm going to rest. I'm a little tired today. Li Changsheng pointed at Zhou Hong and walked out of the hall. Ouyang Ruo hurriedly ordered a subordinate to bring Zhou Hong to rest. After Li Changsheng left for a long time, Duan Yu gritted his teeth and sat down on the sofa. He thought to himself, this time, I've completely offended this guest elder. Chapter 602. Not long after Li Changsheng returned to his house, Ouyang Ruo came to visit him. Mr. Li, Manager Duan Yu only said those words in a moment of desperation. I hope you won't take it to heart. Besides, he has already received his punishment. Ouyang Ruo came in and said a few polite words before going straight to the point. Li Changsheng knew that Duan Yu must have asked her to persuade him. Sure enough, Duan Yu soon limped downstairs with a hand on his chest and begged for Li Changsheng's forgiveness. All right, you can all go back. Today's matter is over. If you dare to let me know that you have such thoughts again, don't blame me for being merciless. After hearing Li Changsheng's words, Duan Yu and Ouyang Ruo left. To Duan Yu, this was already the best outcome. Not long after Ouyang Ruo and Ouyang Ruo left, Li Changsheng's doorbell rang again. This time, it was the silly boy Zhou Hong. As soon as he entered the door, his eyes lit up and he said, Master, I just asked around. It turns out that the abandoned manor we passed by today really has something to do with you. It was the result of your battle with the Kunlun sect's young sect master. That Kunlun sect's young sect master, Zhuanghua, was known as the #1 person in the cultivation world, but he was killed by you. Master, you are too powerful. To be able to have someone like you as my master, it is truly my good fortune. All right, shut up. I still need a rest. Li Changsheng interrupted him impatiently. This guy was good at everything, but he was a little too talkative. All right, Zhou Hong wanted to stay a little longer, but he was kicked out by Li Changsheng. The next morning, two subordinates in the north drove Li Changsheng and Ouyang Ruo to the headquarters. These two people were not only drivers, but also secretaries. They were responsible for Li Changsheng's daily life in the north. It was the first time the two of them saw Li Changsheng, so they couldn't help but secretly look back while driving. Now, Li Changsheng was too famous in the Heavenly Dao Union. He had killed the Kunlun sect's junior sect master Zhuanghua, the Hong sect's dragon lord Sita Qinglong, and the western region's elder Chu Youshang. Li Changsheng was escorted by a commercial vehicle. Li Changsheng sat in the car and closed his eyes to rest. Zhou Hong was a person who couldn't stay idle. He chatted with the two people in front of him. When the two heard that Zhou Hong was Li Changsheng's disciple, they deliberately flattered Zhou Hong. This made Zhou Hong feel like he was floating on air all the way. There was almost no such thing as fatigue for cultivators as drivers. As long as their bodies weren't injured, they could keep their minds clear for a long time under the operation of spiritual qi. Along the way, Li Changsheng closed his eyes and rested. 5 hours later, They finally entered the Heavenly Tao Union's headquarters. The Heavenly Tao Union's headquarters was located in Ji City, the capital of Zhao Kingdom during the Warring States period. It was not far from the capital, and the city was relatively prosperous. However, cultivators usually built their residences in places far away from the chaotic world, and the Heavenly Tao Union was no exception. After entering Ji City, they drove for another 50 kilometers and came to a large canyon. This was the location of the Heavenly Tao Union's headquarters. The Heavenly Tao Union was different from other cultivation sections. It was made up of many forces. For example, the western region was controlled by Kunlun sect. In the northern region, Wei Gingxiu was actually the sect leader of a sword sect. However, that sect wasn't very famous, and this was the reason why the northern region was inferior to the other 4 divisions. Li Changsheng came to the entrance of the headquarters and asked the 2 subordinates to go in and report. Soon, the door was opened, and Li Changsheng strode in with Zhou Hong and the 2 subordinates. Along the way, many people were secretly observing them. When Li Changsheng stepped into the reception hall, he saw a few people with extraordinary bearings sitting in the hall. One of the 2 subordinates whispered to Li Changsheng, "Elder Li, these are the guardians of the headquarters." After Li Changsheng entered the hall, numerous gazes fell upon him. Recently, Li Changsheng had been in the limelight for too long. Everyone was curious about the man who could kill the young sect leader of Kunlun sect, Zhuanghua. Although everyone in the hall had learned the details about Li Changsheng over and over again, they were still amazed when they saw him in person. Li Changsheng had an ordinary appearance, and no imposing manner could be sensed from him. However, no one dared to look down on him. When he entered the hall, Li Changsheng frowned, because he saw the chair at the innermost seat was empty. That meant the alliance leader was not here. "Where is alliance leader Ho? I want to see him," Li Changsheng asked directly. One of the gray-haired old men stood up and said apologetically, "Alliance leader Ho is not at the headquarters. I'm afraid we'll have to trouble Mr. Li to wait for a day or 2. What about Elder Wei Gingxiu? I want to see him." The other party's face showed an awkward expression. "Elder Li is the guest elder of the North. It's reasonable for you to see Elder Wei. However, Elder Wei's matter is a bit complicated. Since the alliance leader is not here, we can't make decisions on our own. Please forgive us, Elder Li." The old man spoke politely. Li Changsheng also didn't feel awkward. He just snorted coldly. "Then arrange a place for me to stay first." After that, the other party immediately gave a look. A subordinate stood up and led Li Changsheng out of the hall. After Li Changsheng left, the several guardians in the hall breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. The moment Li Changsheng stepped into the hall, they felt as if a big stone was pressing on their hearts, making them feel suffocated. Because they were all finger-profound realm experts, they were very sensitive to the changes in the chi of heaven and earth. The finger-profound realm communicated with the chi of heaven and earth and added it to one's body. Only then could one have a mysterious power. The moment Li Changsheng barged in, they felt that it became difficult to communicate with the heaven and earth. In the entire hall, Li Changsheng seemed to have become the master of the world. Therefore, even the guardians who had complained about Li Changsheng before didn't even have the courage to speak when Li Changsheng appeared. This elderly has such a terrifying aura. It makes me feel like I'm facing the old alliance leader. The old man sighed. Such a person is as unruly as a true dragon. He came for Wei Gingxiu this time, and his grudge with the Kunlun sect needs to be handled carefully. Yes, we can't afford to offend Li Changsheng and Kunlun sect even more. We're in a dilemma now. Another guardian's eyes also showed melancholy. Then we'll wait for the alliance leader to come back and make a decision. However, the alliance leader is a Kunlun disciple, so it's inevitable that he will be biased towards the Kunlun sect. If this Li Changsheng comes out and makes a big scene, even the old alliance leader may not be able to suppress him. After the old man finished speaking, the hall fell into silence for a moment. Chapter 603. The subordinate led Li Changsheng and the others to a courtyard with a more elegant environment. Elderly, this will be your residence for the next few days. If you need anything, just let me know. Li Changsheng nodded his head, pushed open the door, and walked in. The courtyard was very clean and had an antique feel to it. There was a dust-repelling pearl at the top of the room, which could prevent the room from being contaminated by dust. When Zhou Hong saw the dust-repelling pearl, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Wow, such a huge dust-repelling pearl. This is priceless. Heavenly Tao Alliance is really rich. Li Changsheng was speechless at Zhou Hong's exaggerated expression. As expected, the other two subordinates also had an unnatural expression. Heavenly Tao Alliance was known as the Imperial Guards of the cultivation world. If they didn't even have this little skill, they would be a joke. Since the other party asked Li Changsheng to wait for 1 or 2 days, Li Changsheng decided to stay here with peace of mind. He wanted to see how the Heavenly Tao Alliance's Alliance Master would deal with this matter in the end. If it was dealt with fairly, then Li Changsheng would be grateful to him. But if he sided with Kunlun's sect, then he couldn't blame himself for turning hostile. The location of the headquarters of Heavenly Tao Alliance was very particular. There was a spirit vein flowing under the ground, and one could feel the rich energy of the spirit vein. It was an excellent place for cultivation. Li Changsheng could feel that the spirit vein under the mountain was very rich, and it was highly possible that it had given birth to a spirit item similar to Mount Xianwang. Although Li Changsheng was slightly tempted, he didn't do anything inappropriate in the end. After all, Heavenly Tao Alliance was different from Mount Xianwang. If Li Changsheng were to take away the spirit item from the spirit vein, perhaps Heavenly Tao Alliance would really fight with Li Changsheng. Although Li Changsheng wasn't afraid, he was, after all, a guest elder of Heavenly Tao Alliance. It would be inappropriate for him to do that. This place is rich in energy, and the effect of cultivation is many times better than outside. You have to cultivate well. Li Changsheng gave Zhou Hong a few words of advice before standing in the courtyard. Initially, when he returned to Qin City, he planned to visit Yu Wei first. But because of Wei Gengqiu's matter, he had to rush to Ji City. Li Changsheng thought that he would make a trip back to Qin City after he had settled the matters of the Heavenly Tao Union and the Kunlun sect. Now that he'd already broken through to the Finger Profound realm, even Li Changsheng himself wasn't clear in his heart whether he'd ascend to the earthly immortal realm or continue to sleep. But no matter what the situation was, it would cause a consequence. If she fell into a deep sleep for 30 years, by the time she woke up, Yu Wei would probably be old and wrinkled. If he broke through to the Earth's celestial stage, he would enter another world as he had guessed. At that time, he would be separated from Yu Wei. This was the reason why many cultivators would cut off all emotions in the mortal world after they embarked on the path of cultivation. It was because there was a huge difference between immortals and mortals. In terms of lifespan, there was a huge difference between mortals and cultivators. However, Yu Wei was born with a physique that was not suitable for cultivation. Even if he were to help her, perhaps her cultivation would stop before she broke through to the realm of Vajra. Although her lifespan would be increased, it would be very little. Legend had it that there was an immortal pill in the ancient times, which could grant one immortality after consuming it. If he could find one for Yu Wei, then all his worries would be solved. However, even though Li Changsheng had lived for a very long time, he had never seen the recipe of an ancient pill with his own eyes. Although he didn't have the recipe of an ancient pill, he knew quite a lot of pills that could be used to maintain one's appearance and prolong one's lifespan. Therefore, he concocted a longevity pill for her, which could prolong her lifespan by 30 years. However, even if it was just an ordinary longevity pill, the ingredients required to concoct it were extremely precious. During the pre-Qin era, the Earth's spiritual energy was very dense, and it was extremely difficult to concoct a cauldron of it. Now that the spiritual energy was scarce, heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures were even rarer. It was not an easy task to gather all of them. Looks like I'll have to use my strength in the mortal world. Although cultivators are strong, there will be a limit to their strength. just as Li Changsheng was planning to concoct a longevity pill for Yu Wei, in a coffee shop in G City, a young man and a young woman were sitting opposite each other. This coffee tastes terrible. I don't understand why so many people like to drink this bitter stuff. I prefer tea. The man put down the coffee cup in his hand with a bitter expression on his face. The young woman sitting opposite him chuckled. Zhang Xian, you're outdated. This is a Western thing, and it's very popular now. The young woman's beauty was above average, but her eyes were especially lively, making her look very cute. Call me senior brother. Don't you have any manners? The man glared at her, but there was no lethality in his eyes. Yin Jing, is the information you got accurate? Is the guy who killed Kunlun Sect's young sect master, Zhuang Hua, really in G City? Don't let me come here for nothing. Of course it's accurate. Senior brother Zhang Xian, don't forget that junior sister's family is a cultivation clan. We know a lot of internal information. Unlike you who just came out from the deep mountains and forests, you don't know anything. Originally, I heard that Kunlun had sent out a #1 genius, who was at the peak of the finger profound realm at such a young age. I wanted to go and meet him, but I didn't expect that he would die as soon as I came out of the mountain. Unfortunately, the guy who killed Zhuang Hua was rumored to be a descendant of the Forbidden Lands. This is really too much. Where should I put my face as a descendant of the Forbidden Lands? Little junior sister, you're also a descendant of the Forbidden Lands. Yin Jing took a sip of coffee, shook his head, and said, What's there to be angry about? The guy who killed Zhuang Hua has brought great fame to our Forbidden Zone. Senior brother, are you really going to challenge that Li Changsheng? Don't lose to him and bring shame to our Forbidden Zone. Wrong. Junior sister, you're also a successor of the Forbidden Zone. Don't you want to defeat this imposter? The girl named Yun Jing quickly waved her hand. I'm not going. That Zhuang Hua was already at the peak of Finger Profound Realm, but he was still dead. I've just broken through the Finger Profound Realm. I'm not going to look for trouble. That's not right. Junior sister, although you're only at the early stage of Finger Profound Realm, the combat strength of our Forbidden Zone is very strong. You can even fight someone at the peak of Finger Profound Realm. Not to mention, don't you have me, your senior brother? If we join hands, I'm sure we can beat that guy to a pulp. So, senior brother, you're talking about us joining hands, not fighting him alone? Then of course I'll go. But I hope I won't beat that poor guy until he cries. Thinking about the scene of them joining hands, Yunjing's eyes shone brightly. In the Forbidden Zone, she was a famous troublemaker. Her fellow disciples in the sect were often bullied by her. Every 10 years, the Forbidden Zone would send a true disciple to the secular world to train, and that disciple was also the most outstanding successor of the Forbidden Zone. This time, there were two successors walking together in the secular world for the first time. It was because of this cute-looking girl, Yun Jing, and her senior brother Zhang Xian were listed as the most outstanding successors of this generation of the Forbidden Zone. Chapter 604. Li Changsheng was sitting in front of a stone table in the courtyard, drinking tea. Two of his subordinates who sent him to G City from the north were reporting to him about the internal situation of Heavenly Tao Alliance, as well as some news they heard. Wei Gingxiu was grounded. As a disciple of Kunlun's sect, the chief of Heavenly Tao Alliance, Ho Yi, had the intention to push Wei Gingxiu out as a scapegoat if he couldn't find Li Changsheng. The reason why Ho Yi was able to gain a foothold in Heavenly Tao Alliance was all because of the support from Kunlun's sect. Therefore, Ho Yi had to consider the interests of Kunlun's sect first. Now that he heard Li Changsheng had appeared, perhaps they would shift their attention to Li Changsheng. Wei Gingxiu was temporarily safe, but the north and west had always been at odds. Ho Yi had many opinions about Wei Gingxiu, the great elder of the north. Perhaps, even with the appearance of Li Changsheng, the main culprit, it would be difficult for Wei Gingxiu to escape unscathed. When Li Changsheng heard the news, he didn't feel anything, nor was he angry. This was how the world worked. But, since he was the guest elder of the north, and he was the cause of all this, he would not let them do as they wished. Continue to pay attention to the news in Heavenly Tao Alliance. Also, once the chief returns, Inform me immediately. Li Changsheng ordered his two subordinates. Sometimes, he didn't want to reason with his fists, but other than that, there was no other way to reason with them. Right after Li Changsheng finished ordering his two subordinates, an uninvited guest came into the courtyard. It was a young man dressed in casual clothes. His hair was a little long and messy, giving people a feeling that he was neither fish nor fowl. However, the man felt good about himself. When he walked into the courtyard, he didn't forget to flick his hair. Especially, he was holding a long blade in his hand. The blade was sheathed in a scabbard, and one couldn't tell how sharp it was. From his posture, one could tell he was an enemy and not a friend. "Who are you?" The subordinate standing next to Li Changsheng asked loudly. But the man didn't answer and just stared at Li Changsheng. "You are the young expert who killed Zhuang Hua." The man frowned. Because he couldn't see through Li Changsheng's martial arts realm, it was as if he was facing an ordinary person. There were only three possibilities for such a situation. The first was that Li Changsheng was really an ordinary person. The second was that he had cultivated a cultivation technique that could conceal his cultivation. If these were not enough to attract Zhang Xian's attention, then there was a third possibility, which was that Li Changsheng's kung fu was so high that he could not see through it. If this was the case, then Zhang Xian was destined to fail. Before Li Changsheng could speak, a figure rushed out of the house. "Who dares to behave atrociously here? Eat my blade." It was Zhou Hong, the silly boy. The moment his figure rushed out, the long saber in his hand was instantly unsheathed. Driven by the majestic wood elemental Yuan Qi, a green light slashed in the direction of the saber. "Could it be that you are that expert?" There was some doubt in Zhang Xian's eyes because he sensed that Zhou Hong's strength was at most in the innate realm. But the saber Zhou Hong rushed out with was full of momentum, especially the aura flashing from his body. It was not something that could be cultivated by an ordinary cultivation technique. Although he was uncertain, Zhang Xian did not dare to take it lightly. The long saber in his hand was unsheathed, and a cold light flashed. In an instant, the whole yard was filled with saber qi. The successor of the Forbidden Land was indeed extraordinary. Zhou Hong, who had just rushed out, was directly sent flying by the saber light before he could get close. Wounds appeared on his clothes, and he grimaced in pain. "It's not you." Zhang Xian shook his head and looked at Li Changsheng. Sure enough, Li Changsheng walked calmly toward Zhang Xian. "Are you the young expert who killed Zhuang Hua of the Kunlun sect?" Zhang Xian asked again, but Li Changsheng did not answer his question. Instead, he shook his head and said, "Who are you? Why are you looking for me? If you are from the Heavenly Way Alliance, I advise you to turn around and leave immediately." "What Heavenly Way Alliance? I'm just here to test your skills." As Li Changsheng approached, Zhang Xian felt a little uneasy. He directly waved the long saber in his hand and slashed at Li Changsheng. The saber light was sharp and full of endless coldness. There was a whistling sound in the air, and it was full of power. However, in the face of such a saber, Li Changsheng's face did not change. He did not take out a magic weapon or anything like that to face the enemy. Instead, he slowly raised his palm and stretched out 2 fingers. "Does he want to catch my saber with 2 fingers? When this thought came to his mind, Zhang Xian felt a little angry at the same time. He was the successor of the Forbidden Land, and his combat strength was extraordinary. Although he sometimes looked sloppy, he was extremely proud. Every generation of outstanding disciples of the Forbidden Land who came out to the world were the most dazzling martial arts stars. This was the reason why the Forbidden Land was so famous in the world of cultivation. If his saber was caught by someone's fingers, the reputation of the Forbidden Land would be ruined. Arrogant. The saber, which was originally a bit of a test, suddenly changed. It was like a thunderclap, and with a roar, it cut through the air and directly slashed down. Its power was many times stronger than before. "Let's see if you can still be arrogant." Zhang Xian's eyes were cold. Seeing that the long saber was in front of Li Changsheng, he had a proud look on his face. Even his master did not dare to take this saber head-on. The other party was simply courting death by being so arrogant. However, The moment the saber light fell, Li Changsheng raised his fingers and gently pinched it. It was like a roaring concert suddenly cut off, and all the lights and sounds came to an abrupt end. The power of Zhang Xian's saber disappeared without a trace in an instant. Li Changsheng's 2 fingers were just right on the saber's edge. No matter how Zhang Xian pushed his spiritual ether and how the long saber made a trembling sound, he could not break free. How can this be? Zhang Xian's face was full of disbelief. In the next moment, Li Changsheng pulled his arm back and took the long saber in his hand. He then raised his hand and lightly hit Zhang Xian with his palm, sending him flying 5 meters away. This saber is not bad. It's just that your saber skills are a little lacking. Since you injured my disciple, I'll keep this saber as my trophy. If you want to take it back, wait until you can withstand 3 moves from me. After saying that, Li Changsheng directly threw the long saber to Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong caught it in his hand and looked at the sharp long saber with shining eyes. He was a saber user and naturally loved sabers as much as his life. Zhang Xian's saber was much stronger than the one he had. Good. Zhang Xian, will remember today's humiliation. I'll come back to ask for advice in the future. After saying that, Zhang Xian stepped out and his body rose from the ground. He was like a big bird stepping on the wall and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Li Changsheng turned his head to look at the long saber, but Zhou Hong hurriedly turned his back and said loudly, "Master, you promised to give this long saber to me. You can't go back on your word. I just want to see if there are any restrictions on the long saber. Do you think I care about a broken saber?" Li Changsheng shook his head speechlessly. Zhou Hong was no longer nervous and scratched his head. "I thought Master was going back on your word. Master, can you help me see if there are any restrictions on it?" Li Changsheng was too lazy to pay attention to him and turned his head to the side. He was thinking in his heart, this young man who came out of nowhere. If he had not used a secret technique like the universe in the palm to envelop the entire courtyard and prevent the saber from exerting its power, it would have taken some effort to take him down. Could it be that the leader of the Heavenly Law Union, Ho Yi, sent him to test me? But it doesn't seem like it. With Ho Yi's strength, how could he command such an expert? He also doesn't seem like someone from the Kunlun sect. The Kunlun sect uses swords, but the other party uses sabers. It seems that killing Zhuang Hua was like a deep water bomb exploding. It blew up all the fish, prawns, and turtles inside. Anyone who used to think of Zhuang Hua as a goal to surpass will probably set their sights on me. Chapter 605. Zhang Xian, who was defeated by Li Changsheng, left the headquarters of the Heavenly Dao Union in a sorry state. He even lost the long saber that was the token of his sect. As the successor of the Forbidden Lands, he had lost all his face this time. After leaving the headquarters of the Heavenly Dao Union, a girl in a pink dress appeared. She was Zhang Xian's junior sister, Yunjing. Seeing his junior sister, Zhang Xian was furious. "Junior sister Yunjing, you are too outrageous. We agreed that we would fight together, but you hid when we didn't see anyone. Seeing that senior brother's treasured saber was taken away, you didn't say anything to help senior brother. If you were willing to help, even if you couldn't beat that guy to a pulp, at least you wouldn't lose the token of your sect." Hearing Zhang Xian's words, Yunjing couldn't help but curl her lips. "Senior brother, can you blame me for this? It's not like you don't know how terrifying that guy is. Even Master doesn't dare to take your saber technique head on, but he just used 2 fingers to clamp it. Even if I made a move, I would still be beaten to a pulp. Moreover, I originally wanted to make a move, but just as I was about to circulate my Jin Qi, I felt a tyrannical divine sense staring at me, which made my hair stand on end. I'm sure that if I pulled out the long saber in my hand, a palm would immediately fall from the sky and slap me into a crack in the ground. No way. When he was dealing with me, he could still split his mind to stare at you." Zhang Xian said in disbelief. He was already depressed enough when he was defeated by Li Changsheng. He felt that he had suffered a great blow, but now after hearing his junior sister's words, he felt that it was not only easy for the other party to deal with him, but also with ease. How can there be such a freak in the world. Isn't it said that every outstanding successor of the Forbidden Lands must lead the younger generation of the cultivation world? Why doesn't it work when it comes to the two of us? Zhang Xian's face was bitter. Yun Jing, the junior sister next to him, was somewhat gloating. Senior brother, if Master and the other elders find out that you've lost the token from the Forbidden Area, I'm afraid they'll be fuming with anger. You'd better think of a way to get back the long saber that was taken away. Get it back? That guy is so terrifying. How can I get it back? Zhang Xian said snappily. However, when he recalled that the other party had said that as long as he could block 3 more moves from the other party, the saber would be returned to him, and he regained his confidence. I underestimated him. I, Zhang Xian, am a genius of my generation. I don't believe that I can't even withstand 3 moves from him. Thinking of this, Zhang Xian became happy again. He looked at his junior sister beside him. Junior sister, last time I heard you say that there are a lot of delicacies in the secular world. I even lost my treasured saber. As compensation, shouldn't you treat me to a good meal? As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Jing did not pay attention to him at all. He just rolled his eyes and strode toward the downtown. In the courtyard, the subordinate who had just gone out to gather information quickly returned. Mr. Li, good news. Chief Ho is back. I heard that he wants to see you. Just as Li Changsheng finished speaking, the sound of footsteps could be heard coming from outside. Then, a disciple of the Heavenly Tao Union knocked on the door. After obtaining Li Changsheng's approval, he walked in. Mr. Li, our leader would like to invite you to the hall for a chat. Okay. Li Changsheng tidied up his clothes and led Zhou Hong and 2 subordinates out of the courtyard. They arrived at the Heavenly Tao Union's guest hall. The hall was still filled with protectors and elders. A middle-aged man was sitting on the main seat. He was actually wearing a suit. This attire made Li Changsheng's face momentarily stunned. The Heavenly Tao Union's headquarters were either monks or Taoist priests. Even the ordinary disciples were wearing ancient clothes. In Li Changsheng's imagination, the leader of the Heavenly Tao Union would definitely be dressed in similar attire. He did not expect him to be so up-to-date with the times. As if sensing Li Changsheng's doubts, Hui laughed and said, Elder Li, don't be surprised. Our Heavenly Tao Union is actually not a martial arts sect, but an alliance of various forces. Some sects choose to stay away from the secular world and do not have much contact with ordinary people. They have always maintained their traditional beliefs. Even their attire is still the same. Some sects encourage their disciples to enter the secular world and experience the world of mortals. Naturally, they keep up with the times. Although I am a disciple of the Kunlun sect, when I was young, I often traveled under the mountains. Thus, I have more experience with the outside world. After meeting Li Changsheng, the Heavenly Tao Union's leader was very polite. Furthermore, he did not mention the matter of Li Changsheng killing Zhuang Hua and the Western region's elder, Chu Youshang. Chu Youshang was Ho Yi's subordinate, and the Kunlun sect was Ho Yi's sect. He would definitely not be indifferent about Li Changsheng killing the 2 of them. However, he acted as if he did not care. This showed that this person's shrewdness was not ordinary. What about Elder Wei? I heard that the Kunlun sect is pressuring the Heavenly Tao Union to punish me. Although Hui did not take the initiative to mention it, Li Changsheng wanted to ask clearly. After all, Wei Gingqiu was still confined within the Heavenly Tao Union. Indeed, Kunlun sect is very angry about Elder Li killing Zhuang Hua. Even the Kunlun sect master has come out of seclusion and said that he wants to take revenge on Elder Li. However, I have already understood the details of the matter. It cannot be considered Elder Li's fault. As for the Kunlun sect wanting to take revenge on Elder Li, that is your personal grudge. My Heavenly Tao Union will not participate. Hearing Ho Yi's words, Li Changsheng was somewhat surprised. Previously, he had heard from Ouyang Ruo and the others in the north that Ho Yi had repeatedly said that he wanted to punish Li Changsheng. Now that his tone had suddenly changed, Li Changsheng was somewhat confused. Then what about Wei Gingqiu? Li Changsheng's main purpose of coming here was to save Elder Wei. I have already sent someone to invite Elder Wei. He will be here soon. Sure enough, Not long after Hui finished speaking, he saw Elder Wei walking and accompanied by several disciples. Elderly, I heard that you were here at that time. I am so happy to see you. Elder Wei walked into the hall with a hearty laugh. He first bowed to Hui and then came over to shake hands with Li Changsheng. At this time, Wei Gingxiu looked at Zhou Hong, who was standing next to Li Changsheng with a silly grin and two long sabers on his back. He was somewhat puzzled. Mr. Li, is this my new member in the north? Indeed, Elder Wei might not remember the names of all the disciples in the north, but at least he would have some impression of them. However, he was sure that he had never seen Zhou Hong before. This is an anonymous disciple that I've just accepted. I see. Wei Gingxiu nodded. However, Zhou Hong could not help but puff out his chest. Although Li Changsheng said that he was an unofficial disciple, he finally admitted that he was his disciple. Mr. Li's swordsmanship is superb, and your physical skills are unparalleled. I didn't expect you to be a master of saber skills. Wei Gingxiu sighed with emotion. He noticed the two long sabers on Zhou Hong's back and naturally thought that Zhou Hong's saber skills were also taught by Li Changsheng. In fact, Li Changsheng was indeed proficient in many profound saber skills, but he did not teach them to Zhou Hong. It was not that he was selfish, but he was afraid that Zhou Hong would bite off more than he could chew. Because they were discussing Zhou Hong, everyone present could not help but look at Zhou Hong. This made Zhou Hong a little embarrassed as he scratched his head and smiled foolishly. The Heavenly Tao Union's alliance master could not help but shake his head. He thought to himself, this Elder Li is a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. Why did he accept such a silly disciple? Just as he was sighing in his heart, a protector suddenly exclaimed, Little brother Zhou Hong, can you show me the long saber on your back? Chapter 606. Little brother, can you show me the long saber on your back? One of the protectors suddenly spoke. Zhou Hong reached out and untied the long saber on his back. It was the saber that Li Changsheng had taken from Zhang Xian. The guardian walked over and took the long saber. He looked around and then gently pulled the saber out of the sheath. Whoosh! The moment the saber was unsheathed, a turbulent saber chi was emitted, making the temperature in the room seem to have dropped a lot. Many people in the room were surprised. They praised inwardly. What a good saber! However, the guardian did not care about the sharp saber chi. Instead, he stared at the shark symbol on the blade with a shocked expression. Noticing the change in the guardian's expression, everyone in the room also focused on the symbol on the blade. Their expressions changed drastically. It's the green shark saber of the Forbidden Lands. It really is. The guardian's voice trembled a little. Everyone in the room stared at each other in shock. Elderly, you are indeed the successor of the Forbidden Lands. The guardian looked at Li Changsheng with a little more respect. The Forbidden Lands were definitely a legend in the cultivation world. What Forbidden Lands? Li Changsheng was confused. Elderly, don't hide it. If you're not the successor of the Forbidden Lands, how could your disciple be carrying the green shark saber of the Forbidden Lands? The Forbidden Lands? I see. Li Changsheng suddenly understood. It turned out that the one who challenged him was the successor of the Forbidden Lands. Zhou Hong's eyes were already shining. Master, I didn't expect that even the successor of the Forbidden Lands would be defeated by you. This time, everyone in the room noticed something strange. Elderly, what's going on? Even Hui couldn't help but ask. This saber was actually a spoil of war from a young man who came to challenge me a few hours ago. I defeated him. I didn't expect him to be the successor of the Forbidden Lands. Li Changsheng said it casually, but everyone in the room was stunned. In that case, Li Changsheng actually defeated the successor of the Forbidden Lands? Elder Li is amazing. The Heavenly Tao Union's Union Master, Hui, gave Li Changsheng a thumbs up. At the same time, he rejoiced in his heart. It was fortunate that he had changed his mind and didn't want to get involved in the matter between Li Changsheng and the Kunlun sect. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to go against such an expert. Elderly, there is one more thing I want to tell you. Today, the old Alliance Master has come out of seclusion. He wants to see you, the previous Alliance Master of the Heavenly Law Alliance. Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown. When he had just joined the Northern Alliance, the previous Alliance Master had announced his resignation and went into seclusion. However, it hadn't been long before the Alliance Master came out of seclusion and wanted to see him. He had probably come out of seclusion specifically for him. All right, Li Changsheng did not refuse. The old Alliance Master of the Heavenly Tao Union had an extraordinary influence in the Alliance. He had heard Ouyang Ruo talk about the old Alliance Master before and knew that he was quite a character. Elderly, I'll send someone to bring you over now. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and a subordinate walked out. Li Changsheng followed the subordinate out of the hall. After Li Changsheng left, Wei Gengqiu also took his leave. He knew that he must have something to discuss with his trusted aides in the alliance. Sure enough, after Li Changsheng and Ouyang Ruo left, a protector couldn't wait to speak. Are we just going to let the matter of the Kunlun sect go? We didn't punish Li Changsheng at all. Moreover, our Western Alliance's elder, Chu Liushang, also died in his hands. If we just raise our hand high and let it fall lightly, I'm afraid that the reputation of the Northern Alliance will soar in the future. On the other hand, the prestige of the Western Alliance and the Alliance Master will be damaged. This protector was an elder who had followed Yi in the Western Alliance. He had a good relationship with Chu Liushang. He originally thought that Yi would punish Li Changsheng, but he didn't expect that Yi would let it go so easily. This made him feel somewhat unbalanced. Yi let out a sigh. What can we do? You all know the strength of this elderly. First, he killed Zhuanghua. Now, even the successor of the Forbidden Lands was defeated by him. If we shed all pretense of cordiality with him, I'm afraid that even if all of us join forces, we may not be his match. Isn't there still the old Alliance Master? We can't deal with him, but can the old Alliance Master not deal with him? He said, in fact, there is one more thing that I haven't told everyone. It was the old Alliance Master's suggestion to make such a decision. Is the old Alliance Master afraid of him? Several protectors frowned. He shook his head. Of course not. What kind of strength does the old Alliance Master have? He became famous 30 years ago. Although this Li Changsheng is powerful, he is still a little lacking if he wants to stand shoulder to shoulder with the old Alliance Master. Then why did the old Alliance Master make such a decision? It's because of the Kunlun sect. Although I am the successor of the Kunlun sect, and the entire Western region is supported by the Kunlun sect, the Kunlun sect is becoming more and more overbearing. They also treat the Heavenly Law Alliance as their subordinate organization. Although I am a disciple of the Kunlun sect, I'm still a member of the Heavenly Law Alliance. If this continues, the Heavenly Law Alliance might really become a vassal of the Kunlun sect. Therefore, the old Alliance Master's intention is to let this Li Changsheng fight with the Kunlun sect. Hearing Yi's words, everyone fell into silence. Several protectors felt respect for Yi. After all, as a disciple of the Kunlun sect, he was able to put the Heavenly Law Alliance's interests first in the face of great matters. This was how Alliance Master should act. I wonder why the old Alliance Master went to see Li Changsheng. Another protector asked. This Li Changsheng was able to kill Zhuanghua and is a 1,000-year-old martial arts genius. However, he is still young and frivolous. In the upcoming battle with the Kunlun sect, if he wins, the arrogance of the northern region will definitely reach a peak. This Li Changsheng is just a guest elder of the Heavenly Law Alliance. If the entire northern region is under his control, it will be no different from a second Kunlun sect. The old Alliance Master wants to teach him a lesson and let him know that even if he is Sun Wukong, there is still someone in the Heavenly Law Alliance that could suppress him. So that's the case. Everyone nodded and lamented the old Alliance Master's good intentions. Doesn't that mean that there is a high possibility that they will fight? The old Alliance Master hasn't fought for more than 10 years. I wonder how strong he is now. I am more curious if this elderly is as powerful as the rumors say. I wonder how many moves he can take from the old Alliance Master. The hall was filled with discussions. Everyone was a cultivator, so they naturally yearned for a battle between the peak experts. Since everyone is looking forward to seeing the old Alliance Master fight, why don't we go and watch the battle together? One of the protectors suggested. He raised his head and looked at Ho-E. Alliance Master, I wonder if it is possible? Ho-E thought for a while and finally nodded. All right. To be honest, I'm also a little curious. Let's go. As he spoke, he took the lead and walked out of the hall. All the protectors and elders followed behind him. Chapter 607. After leaving the hall, Wei Gengxiu thought about it again and again, but he still felt uneasy. He knew that Li Changsheng was very easygoing, but he absolutely could not provoke him. Once he was angered, he would be very terrifying. The old League Master of the Heavenly Dao Union had been in power for many years and had an arrogant personality. If Li Changsheng met the old League Master and the two of them had a conflict of words, it would be terrible. Thus, Wei Gengxiu changed his direction and walked directly to the courtyard where the old League Master was in seclusion. At this moment, Li Changsheng was led by the disciples of the Heavenly Dao Union and had already met the old League Master. Different from the current League Master, Ho-E, this old League Master was wearing very ancient clothes and had a tall stature. After Li Changsheng entered, he sat on a wrought-tan chair in the courtyard. When he saw Li Changsheng enter, he did not speak to Li Changsheng. Instead, he took off the wine gourd hanging on his waist and took a sip, as if he was savoring the mellow taste of the wine. After a while, he looked at Li Changsheng. You are the guest elder of the north, the one who killed Zhuang Hua, Li Changsheng. That's right, it's me. May I know why the old League Master is looking for me? Li Changsheng's voice was somewhat cold. He was very unhappy with the other party's attitude. Can't I look for you if there's nothing? Don't forget, you are only the guest elder of the north, while I am the former League Master of the Heavenly Dao Union. You also said that you are the former League Master and not the current one, so you can't control me. You, Jiang Beitong, suddenly raised his eyebrows. He had already guessed that since Li Changsheng was able to kill Zhuang Hua, he must be very arrogant. However, he did not expect that Li Changsheng would be at odds with him the moment he entered. I heard that the Western region's elder, Chu Liushang, was also killed by you. Chu Liushang is a member of my Heavenly Dao Union and can be considered your ally. Even if he did something wrong, you should have just taught him a lesson. Isn't killing him a little too much? I have been in seclusion for the past few days. He has just taken over the position of alliance leader and is a little too merciful. If I were the one to deal with it, even if Crooked Shang was in the wrong first, you should go to the penal department to receive 300 flaming thunder whips and be grounded for 10 years as punishment. I've already said that you're no longer the alliance leader, so there's no point in saying all this. Besides, aren't you just trying to anger me by saying so much so that you'll attack me and show me who's boss? The corners of Li Changsheng's mouth curled up, and a playful look appeared on his face. The expression on Jiang Beitong's face froze. He couldn't understand how this guy could see through his acting. Young people nowadays are really amazing. It seems that I have to carry out my plan of showing off my power. Otherwise, how can I suppress him? Thinking of this, Jiang Beitong stood up from his chair. His body exuded a powerful aura, and he rolled up his sleeves. Kid, a country has its laws, and a family has its rules. If you could take one of my punches, I'll forget about you killing Crooked Shang. If you can't, then obediently go to the penal department to receive 300 whips. Jiang Beitong took a step forward, and his entire body rose 3 feet in the air. He raised his fist and smashed it down at Li Changsheng. This punch seemed simple and straightforward, but the change in chi brought about by the fist fell into Li Changsheng's eyes. He knew that this was indeed an expert. The Finger Profound realm had already reached the peak. Even in this era where chi was scarce, Li Changsheng had seen countless Finger Profound realm experts. Unfortunately, from the beginning to the end, no one had been able to glimpse the legendary Earth Immortal realm. From the Finger Profound realm to the Earth Immortal realm, it was really a natural chasm. Who knew how many people had been stopped? No wonder Jiang Beitong was so confident and wanted to show off his power to Li Changsheng. In the era where Earth Immortals did not appear, the peak of the Finger Profound realm was also the top martial force in the world. Although Li Changsheng had killed Kunlun's #1 prodigy, Zhuanghua, and although Zhuanghua was known to be on par with the peak of the finger-profound realm, he was not. When the punch landed, the wind and clouds changed color. The power of a finger-profound realm expert could be seen at a glance. Ho Yi, the Heavenly Tao Alliance's higher-ups, and Wei Gengxiu, who had run over to watch the battle, quickened their steps at the same time. Ho Yi and the rest were a little anxious, afraid that they would miss this peak battle. Wei Gengxiu was afraid that the old Alliance Master Li Changsheng would clash with Li Changsheng and be unable to settle the situation in the end. Both sides were quickly approaching, but they were still one step slower. In the courtyard, facing Jiang Beitong's fist, Li Changsheng's mouth revealed a bit of disdain. When this disdain landed in Jiang Beitong's eyes, he immediately felt angry. He was actually being looked down upon. At the same time, he was even more confused. He had clearly seen his powerful power. Where did the other party's confidence come from? Soon, he knew the answer. In the next moment, Li Changsheng suddenly raised his head. His white, jade-like palm slowly clenched, and he threw a punch at Jiang Beitong's body. This punch seemed soft and without any strength, but the moment it was thrown, its speed was extremely fast. The punch was clearly thrown later, but it arrived first. In an instant, it was already close to Jiang Beitong's body. Jiang Beitong's expression changed drastically. He thought to himself, the person who can kill Zhuanghua is indeed skilled. The speed of the fist also suddenly increased. It did not collide with Li Changsheng's body, but met Li Changsheng's fist. He wanted to shatter Li Changsheng's attack with a punch first. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the two fists almost instantly collided. Jiang Beitong's majestic fist was instantly swung to the side. In the next moment, Li Changsheng's fist directly smashed into Jiang Beitong's body. Boom! The moment the fist came into contact with Jiang Beitong's body, a raging fist force suddenly erupted from the fist and blasted out with it. Then, Jiang Beitong's body directly flew backward with a look of disbelief on his face. He flew over the high courtyard wall and fell outside. Ho Yi and the others, who were approaching the courtyard, couldn't wait to witness the grand battle. The old leader is very powerful. That Li Changsheng is probably beaten black and blue by now, right? One of the protectors gloated. That's not necessarily true. That Li Changsheng killed Zhuanghua. I'm afraid the old leader will have to put in a lot of effort. However, the old leader will definitely win in the end. Another protector shook his head. At this moment, a loud roar sounded, and then a figure flew out from the courtyard wall in front of them. Ho Yi and the others' voices came to an abrupt end, and they stopped at the same time. Are we one step too late? The winner has already been decided between the two of them, and that Li Changsheng was sent flying by the old leader's punch? But why do I feel that the figure flying out of the courtyard looks like the old leader? On the other side, Wei Gengxiu had just approached when the figure that flew out of the courtyard rolled at his feet. When he saw the figure's face clearly, Wei Gengxiu was stunned. His expression was one of astonishment and disbelief. Chapter 608. The Alliance Master actually lost. When the Heavenly Tao Union's members saw that the person on the ground was Jiang Beitong, they were all completely dumbfounded. Old Alliance Master, are you all right? Wei Gengxiu looked at Jiang Beitong, who had blood in his mouth, and stuttered as he asked. At this time, Jiang Beitong clenched his teeth and got up from the ground. Of course I'm fine. I was just playing a game with elderly Changsheng. After saying that, he limped towards the courtyard. When he passed by Ho Yi and the others, he fiercely glared at them. What are you doing here? Go do what you need to do. After being reprimanded by Jiang Beitong, Ho Yi hurriedly led his subordinates back the way they came. Jiang Beitong was a person who cared about his reputation. Now that he had lost, if they stayed, it would make Jiang Beitong feel very embarrassed. After walking far away, a protector couldn't help but say, Alliance Master, could it really be that the old Alliance Master and Li Changsheng were playing a game and flew out by themselves? When his voice fell, the surrounding people looked at him as if he was an idiot. Who would believe that he flew out by himself and vomited blood? In the courtyard, Li Changsheng looked at the limping old alliance master, Jiang Beitong, with a cold expression. Jiang Beitong no longer had the arrogance from before. He originally wanted to give Li Changsheng a show of strength with one move. Who would have thought that Li Changsheng would give him a show of strength? Young man, you are amazing. Even I can't help but admire you. Jiang Beitong was someone who had lived for more than 80 years, so he quickly adjusted his mentality. To be able to defeat me, Jiang Beitong, you are already the #1 person in the world. Hearing the other party's words, Li Changsheng couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't this a disguised way of praising him for being the #1 person in the world? This guy really knows how to praise himself. Li Changsheng's smile made Jiang Beitong lose face. He was about to get angry, but when he thought about the gap between him and Li Changsheng, he obediently shut his mouth. I actually have something to tell you. The Kunlun sect wants you to apologize to them. Of course, I know that you won't accept it. However, I still hope that you can make a trip to the Kunlun sect to settle your grudge. After all, the Kunlun sect is the leader of the Dragon Gate. If the grudge is not resolved, I'm afraid that there will be endless trouble. Even my heavenly Tao alliance will not be able to live in peace. What do you mean by trouble? Li Changsheng raised his eyebrows, feeling that this old alliance master was implying something. I heard that Elder Li's kung fu isn't something like the Great Oblivion. The reason why the meandering Chamber of Commerce died in your hands was because he touched your reverse scale and kidnapped your girlfriend to threaten you. Is that true? Not bad. Li Changsheng nodded. If meandering Chamber of Commerce hadn't kidnapped you Yue to threaten Li Changsheng might not have killed him. Since meandering Chamber of Commerce can find your weakness, the Kunlun sect can naturally find it as well. Zhuanghua is a martial arts genius of the Kunlun sect. His death is enough to make the old sect master of the Kunlun sect go crazy. You mean that the Kunlun sect might make a move on my family and friends? Li Changsheng's eyes revealed a bit of sharpness. Young man, don't stare at me. What's the use of staring at me? Anyway, this old man is no match for you. You can't kill me, right? That's true. Li Changsheng smiled. However, after hearing what you said, I really have to make a trip to the Kunlun sect. However, once I go to Kunlun, won't I fall into your trap? When two tigers fight, one will be injured. You can just sit back and reap the benefits. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Jiang Beitong smiled. This is called the older ginger. The spicier it is. Do you have a choice? This is called old but not dead as a thief. After saying this, Li Changsheng got up and walked out of the yard. The matter of the Kunlun sect had to be solved eventually. Even if Jiang Beitong didn't remind him, Li Changsheng still needed to go to the Kunlun sect. He was not afraid of thieves stealing, but he was afraid of thieves thinking about him. He couldn't feel at ease if he didn't solve the matter of the Kunlun sect. Li Changsheng decided to go to the Kunlun sect. After telling Wei Gingxiu about this matter, Wei Gingxiu was quite worried. The Kunlun sect was known as the head of the Dragon Gate in the world. It was the place where the ancestral dragon vein was located. It was the Taoist field of the heavenly Lord Yuanshi, one of the 3 pristines in the legends. There were too many mysteries. It had been the leader of the cultivation world since ancient times. Although Li Changsheng was powerful, Wei Gingxiu didn't think highly of Li Changsheng when he went to the Kunlun sect's territory. However, Li Changsheng had already decided that things wouldn't change easily. He just told Wei Gingxiu to let him know and asked him to protect his girlfriend after returning to Qin City. Zhou Hong naturally wanted to follow Li Changsheng. He had made up his mind to become Li Changsheng's disciple and learn Taoist techniques from Li Changsheng. In particular, Li Changsheng had defeated the old leader of the Heavenly Tao Alliance. This made Zhou Hong even more determined. The old leader of the Heavenly Tao Alliance was a famous existence in the cultivation world of the northern lands. Even Zhou Hong used to idolize the old leader. Since Li Changsheng insisted, Wei Gingxiu naturally couldn't stop him. He just talked about some of the secret history of the Kunlun sect, hoping to help Li Changsheng. When they left the headquarters, he led a group of protectors to see them off. However, everyone had a somewhat interesting expression on their faces. Before this, they all thought that Li Changsheng would appear and punish Li Changsheng severely. However, in the end, Li Changsheng had shocked them. Unexpectedly, when Li Changsheng walked to the entrance of the Heavenly Tao Alliance's headquarters, the old leader, Jiang Beitong, appeared and handed a map of the Kunlun sect to Li Changsheng. This map was not an ordinary map. There were all kinds of arrays of the Kunlun sect marked on it. For Li Changsheng, who was going to break into the Kunlun sect, this map was especially precious. When He saw Jiang Beitong give the map away, he opened his mouth to say something but stopped. In the end, he didn't say anything. With Li Changsheng's strength, there were very few people who could threaten him. The biggest threat to the Kunlun sect was the arrays of the Kunlun sect. Now that he had this map, Li Changsheng could know himself and his enemy. After Li Changsheng left with Zhou Hong, He couldn't help but ask, "Old leader, why did you give that map to Li Changsheng? Didn't you say that you wanted them to fight each other?" Although Li Changsheng is strong, the Kunlun sect has tens of thousands of years of inheritance and arrays. I'm afraid that when Li Changsheng arrives at the Kunlun sect, he won't even be able to find the door. When the time comes, the plan of two tigers fighting each other will naturally not be realized. I want him to know where the arrays of the Kunlun sect are and try to avoid them. Only then can he and the Kunlun sect suffer losses. The map only shows the approximate function and operation method of the arrays. With the wisdom of the generations of the Kunlun sect, even the most powerful array master in the world will not be able to break them. He can avoid some of the arrays and break in a fight with the Kunlun sect leader. In the end, both sides will suffer losses. This is the best result. I see. He heaved a sigh of relief. After all, the Kunlun sect was his sect. He was really afraid that Li Changsheng would start a massacre. Hearing the old leader's words, He felt relieved. Indeed, as long as the arrays of the Kunlun sect were not broken, even if Li Changsheng could break in with the map, once the arrays were activated, even if he could defeat the Kunlun sect leader and escape, he would most likely lose half his life. Chapter 609. Kunlun was known as the ancestor of all mountains, the birthplace of the ancestral dragon veins. It stretched for tens of thousands of miles, with a magnificent and majestic atmosphere. After Li Changsheng and Zhou Hong left Ji City, they took a train and headed straight to Kunlun Mountain Range. A few days later, they finally arrived at the foot of Kunlun Mountain. The land was covered in white snow, and the sky was high and far away. It was a place that made one feel relaxed and relaxed. Kunlun sect was located in the depth of Kunlun Mountain Range. It was shrouded in formations all year round, and it was nearly impossible for ordinary people to find it. But Li Changsheng spread out his divine will, and very soon he locked onto a direction. Together with Zhou Hong, they headed straight into the mountain range. 1 hour later, both men arrived at the foot of a huge mountain. As the number one genius of Kunlun sect, Zhuanghua, was killed by Li Changsheng, Li Changsheng knew that once he entered Kunlun sect, he would be surrounded by dangers. But Li Changsheng was not worried at all. With his current overall strength, as long as he did not encounter any living Earth immortals, even if all 99 formations of Kunlun sect were activated at the same time, they would not be able to hurt him. Besides, he had the map given to him by Jiang Beitong, which clearly marked the locations of all the formations of Kunlun sect. Perhaps for other masters of formations, even if they had the map, they could at most evade the detection of some of the formations. But in Li Changsheng's hands, it was a completely different story. Along the way, Li Changsheng had already deduced most of the formations of Kunlun sect based on the markings on the map. In Li Changsheng's eyes, the biggest reliance of Kunlun sect was no longer a threat. The reason Jiang Beitong gave me this map was so that I could sneak into Kunlun sect and have a fight with Kunlun sect leader. But I don't have to do that. With that thought in mind, Li Changsheng took a step forward and shouted to the front, "Li Changsheng, the elder of the north of Heavenly Tao Alliance, is here to pay a visit to Kunlun sect." His voice echoed out like a sudden clap of thunder, echoing through the mountains and wilderness. The fog in a mountain range in front of them tumbled, and countless birds were startled. Their cries reverberated in the mountain range continuously, and even covered the whistling of the wind. Li Changxing's shout was very skillful. He used a powerful sound wave to transmit it, which could directly penetrate the formation of the Kunlun sect and let the people inside hear it. Sure enough, not long after Li Changxing shouted, figures flew out of the turbulent fog one after another in the Kunlun sect, as if countless birds had been awakened from their sleep. An elder took the lead and descended from the sky. Behind him were several other elders, including the 7 sons of Kunlun. There were a total of 12 people, and all of them were at the Finger Profound realm. Other than that, there were more than 20 Kunlun disciples. After they landed, they were all ready for battle. You are Li Changxing? Are you the one who killed Zhuanghua? The old man in the lead snorted coldly and looked at Li Changxing with an icy gaze. You are the Kunlun sect master? Li Changxing furrowed his brows. Although this old man was also at the Finger Profound realm, he gave him a very ordinary feeling. If the Kunlun sect master was only at this level, it would really make him a little disappointed. I am Kunlun's first elder, Sun Zhongyi. The Taoist Mingxin you killed is my disciple. Sun Zhongyi said coldly. Our sect master is not in the sect today. Li Changxing, you are really bold. You killed 2 of our Kunlun disciples and dare to come to the Kunlun sect to behave atrociously. You are simply courting death. First elder, we must avenge our first senior brother and kill this thief. Yes, you're going too far. If we don't kill him, where's the dignity of our Kunlun sect? The elders and disciples behind him were filled with righteous indignation. They looked at Li Changxing with eyes full of hatred. Quickly find a way to inform your sect master to come back. You are not qualified to fight with me. Li Changxing's words made the people of the Kunlun sect so angry that smoke was coming out of their 7 orifices. Arrogant. I want to see what ability you have to dare to say such arrogant words. First Elder Sun Zhongyi, the 7 heroes of Kunlun, and the remaining 4-finger Profound Realm elders rushed towards Li Changxing almost at the same time. They actually didn't plan to fight Li Changxing alone from the beginning. 12-finger Profound Realm experts. This was definitely a huge lineup. It was enough to sweep away any sect in the current cultivation world. Only Kunlun could do such a thing. However, Li Changxing was not afraid at all. He only threw a punch forward. The boundless fist force was like a surging wave. The raging waves beat the shore, and the sun and moon lost their light. This punch actually blocked Sun Zhongyi, the 7 heroes of Kunlun, and the 4 elders behind him. The strength of the 12 people was actually unable to advance even an inch. In the next second, Li Changxing threw 9 punches forward in a row. The fist force of each punch was the superposition of the fist force behind it. When the 9th punch was thrown, the defense formed by the 12 Kunlun experts was instantly broken. One by one, they flew backward and fell down like dumplings. He fought against 12-finger Profound Realm experts by himself, and won easily. At this moment, everyone from Kunlun's sect was stunned. How could there be such a terrifying person in this world? Before, when they heard that Zhuanghua died in the hands of a young man, many people couldn't believe it. Until they saw Li Changxing's power at this moment. They had no choice but to admit that Li Changxing's strength was really too powerful. This person is too powerful. Activate the formation and kill the enemy. Sun Zhongyi shouted loudly. The 12-finger Profound Realm warriors waved their hands in unison. One after another, rays of light shot out in all directions. A towering mountain appeared behind them. The instant the mountain appeared, rays of light pillars rose from the boundless fog, connecting the heavens and the earth. Above each light pillar, brilliance gathered in the sky. In the end, it condensed into a 3,000-meter-long giant sword. The moment the giant sword was formed, even the sky seemed to be trembling. This was the biggest attack formed by the 99 formations of Kunlun sect. The name of the sword was Origin. Its power was boundless, and it was also Kunlun's sect's biggest trump card. Li Changsheng raised his head and looked at the brilliant giant sword formed in the sky. His eyes also revealed a raging battle intent. Kunlun's sect's formations, I would like to experience it. He slowly raised his fist. The aura on his body circulated. A giant phantom of a demon god appeared behind him, roaring angrily. At this moment, the giant sword was also completely condensed. It slowly pressed down from the sky. Its speed was not fast. It could even be said to be very slow. However, endless power poured down, completely sealing the space around Li Changsheng. It was like an ant facing a collapsing mountain. The mountain's collapsing speed was obviously not fast, but even if the ant fled at its fastest speed, it still couldn't escape in the end. Sword Chi Universe. Under one sword, the world was like an ant. There was nothing it couldn't cut. What a powerful sword, come at me! Li Changsheng suddenly punched out, facing that giant sword. He didn't have the slightest intention to dodge. You want to dominate the universe? Then I will break this world and see who is the master of the world. Chapter 610. His punch was like a surging river. The huge sword that was descending from the sky paused for a moment. The fist force also dissipated into the distance. Great Elder Sun Zhongyi and the others, who were still worried, heaved a sigh of relief. They sneered and thought, so what if you are strong? Under the formation of our Kunlun sect, you will still die. However, Li Changsheng's face did not change. Under the roar of the god and demon behind him, he punched out again. It happened to be connected with the power of the previous punch. The giant sword that was about to continue to press down stopped in place. Just like Li Changsheng's punches that forced Sun Zhongyi and the others back. The punches overlapped like a huge wave. After 9 punches in a row, the giant sword that was about to press down began to rise. Many people's expressions had changed. The few people next to him looked at Sun Zhongyi. Great Elder, he won't knock the giant sword back just like that, right? Hearing this, Sun Zhongyi shook his head and said, that's impossible. His punches are stacked one after another. Although the power at the beginning seems powerful, the price he has to pay is not small. Just now, he used a total of 9 punches to push us back. I think this is already close to his limit. At most, he can throw out 2 or 3 more punches. When his punches stop, with the activation of the formation, the giant sword will split him in half. As soon as Sun Zhongyi finished speaking, Li Changsheng threw out 3 more punches. The power of each punch was more terrifying than the previous one. Half of the giant sword had already been knocked back. Boom! The 13th punch, the 14th punch, the 15th punch. When the 16th punch landed, the entire world rumbled. The ground cracked, the mountains shook, and the world turned upside down. The giant sword shattered under Li Changsheng's fist force. The entire Kunlun sect was suddenly shaken. The expressions of Sun Zhongyi and the others were extremely ugly. One had to know that this giant sword was formed by the power of countless formations of Kunlun. It borrowed the power of the mountains and earth veins of the entire Kunlun sect. It was actually shattered by someone barbarically. After shattering the giant sword, Li Changsheng did not stop. He still punched out. This time, the fist force directly hit the mountain range of the Kunlun sect. Boom! Boom boom! Every punch caused the mountains and rivers to tremble. Cracks appeared under his feet, and the weather in the sky changed color. He threw out 20 punches in a row. Rumble! Countless rocks rolled down from Mount Kunlun, and the rolling fog was swept away by the raging fist force. The colorful array kept swaying and finally began to collapse. The pavilions on Mount Kunlun also began to collapse. It was like a magnitude 13 earthquake. It was earth-shattering, and it made people feel fear. At this moment, Sun Zhongyi and the others were completely dumbfounded. Their faces were pale. Only now did they understand how terrifying Li Changsheng's strength was. Where's your sect leader? Find a way to inform him. Tell him that if he doesn't come back, I will tear down the Kunlun sect. Li Changxing's voice was so domineering that everyone present was stunned by him. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Li Changxing was too terrifying. That punch, just now, had also beaten the courage out of everyone present. More than half of the 99 arrays of the Kunlun sect had been broken. Many of the jade palaces that had been built for generations had also collapsed. If Li Changxing continued to fight, he could really raise the Kunlun sect to the ground. Although the Kunlun sect had 12-finger profound realm experts now, could they block Li Changxing's punch? For the first time, everyone in the Kunlun sect felt helpless. Since Li Changxing dared to come to the Kunlun sect, he was prepared to shed all pretense of cordiality. What he did just now was to intimidate these people and leave them with an indelible impression, so that these people would not cause any trouble in the future and hurt their relatives and friends. With what happened today, as long as they had the thought of taking action in the future, they would think of today's situation and would not dare to act rashly. People often feared power and not virtue. If he wanted to beat them, he would beat them until they did not dare to fight back. Didn't you hear what I said? Li Changxing's gaze swept across everyone present coldly. With the power he had left in their hearts, no one dared to look directly into his eyes. Taking a deep breath, Sun Zhongyi took a step forward and stood out. Now his status was the highest. Our sect leader is not near the Kunlun sect. He won't be back in a short time. Then where did he go? Li Changxing had dealt with this group of people. Naturally, he had to deal with the Kunlun sect leader. Only then could he maintain long-term peace. Therefore, he must meet the Kunlun sect leader on this trip. Our sect leader went to Mount Jiuhua to meet a few old friends. We don't know when he will be back. A few old friends? Li Changxing sneered. The Kunlun sect leader came out of seclusion because of the death of his disciple Zhuanghua. Now that he went to meet a few friends, he was probably going to contact someone to deal with him. Since he won't be back in a short time, I will go and meet him personally. Li Changxing directly turned around and headed to Mount Jiuhua with Zhou Hong. After Li Changxing left, the people of the Kunlun sect heaved a sigh of relief. It was as if a huge mountain had been lifted from their hearts. At the same time, everyone's expression was a little complicated. As disciples of the Kunlun sect, they were usually high and mighty. They felt that no one in the world could be on par with the disciples of the Kunlun sect. At this moment, Li Changxing had taught them a lesson. First Elder, Li Changxing is so powerful that even our Kunlun sect, which has thousands of years of heritage, can't stop him. You want to meet the old sect leader. What if the old sect leader can't defeat him? An elder said worriedly. It's not a if, it's a certainty. Sun Zhongyi sighed. Although the sect leader is powerful, he is definitely not a match for Li Changxing. But we don't have to worry too much. The sect leader went to Mount Jiuhua this time to contact a few old friends to deal with Li Changxing together. The headmaster's friends are all top-notch experts of the present age. With them working together, even if Li Changxing goes, he might not be able to get away with it. What's more, I heard that the sect leader of the Hong sect wants to avenge Dragon Lord Sidu Qinglong. He is now at Mount Jiuhua. It is said that the sect leader of the Hong sect had reached the Finger Profound realm 60 years ago. Now his strength has reached the peak. He alone is enough to compete with Li Changxing. Hearing Sun Zhongyi's words, the hearts of everyone present finally relaxed. Although there are so many experts, this Li Changxing's background is mysterious. He might have helpers. Therefore, I will bring the 7 sons of Kunlun and set off for Mount Jiuhua. When the time comes, I will lend the sect master a hand. For elders, you will be responsible for overseeing the Kunlun sect. This time, you must ensure that Li Changxing will not be able to leave Mount Jiuhua. Don't worry, First Elder. We will protect the Kunlun sect. The 4 elders promised one after another. Sun Zhongyi also nodded. He didn't go back to the sect to pack up. Instead, he took the 7 sons and rushed to Mount Jiuhua through another route. Chapter 611. It took Li Changxing half a day to arrive at Mount Jiuhua. Unlike the majestic Kunlun sect, Mount Jiuhua gave off a more ethereal feeling. They walked up the mountain path step by step. When they were about to reach the mountainside, they were stopped by someone. "I'm sorry. This place is not open to the public. Please go to another area to enjoy the scenery." It was a disciple of Mount Jiahua. He stopped Li Changsheng and Zhou Hong, treating Li Changsheng and Zhou Hong as if they were tourists going up the mountain. Unlike the Kunlun sect, Mount Jiahua was not considered a sect. It was just that 30 years ago, a sword cultivator named Lang Yuanbai occupied this place. He took in a few disciples and called himself the Mountain Lord of Mount Jiahua. Because his swordsmanship was very high, everyone tacitly agreed and put Mount Jiahua under his name. No one came to challenge and seize the territory. After Lang Yuanbai occupied Mount Jiahua, he built a building on the mountain and took in a few disciples. The sword cultivator's lethality was very strong. In addition to his own strength, he did not even set up a concealment array. Therefore, even ordinary people could walk up the mountain. "We're not here to have fun. We're looking for your mountain lord." Li Changsheng shook his head and said to the disciple, "I'm sorry. Our mountain lord is entertaining important guests, so he won't see you. My master wants to see your mountain lord because he's giving him face. Hurry up and get out of the way. Otherwise, my master will flatten Mount Jiahua with a punch." After seeing Li Changsheng shake the Kunlun sect's array, Zhou Hong held his head high all the way. He felt that his disciple was also shining. At this moment, he could not help but stand up. Zhou Hong was now close to the peak of the innate realm. He was also an expert, especially with the two sabers on his back. He looked very imposing. Unexpectedly, the disciple's face was full of disdain. "Where did this wild cultivator come from? How dare you come to my Mount Jiahua and behave atrociously? Get down the mountain now, and I won't argue with you. Otherwise, if you annoy me, both of you will have to bear the consequences." The disciple was also very arrogant. Zhou Hong saw Li Changsheng's great power that day and was full of pride. Now that he was looked down on by the other party, he immediately could not help but draw the long saber in his hand. Seeing Zhou Hong pull out his long saber, the disciple stretched out his finger and shouted, "Sword!" A streak of white and red flew down from the top of the mountain. It was a sparkling and translucent longsword. With the sound of the wind, it pierced towards Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong swung his saber to meet the attack, but the longsword collided with his saber. In the next second, Zhou Hong's body flew out and landed on the stone steps. He flipped a few times before coming to a stop. He was in a sorry state. This disciple's strength was obviously not as strong as Zhou Hong's, but he was able to send Zhou Hong flying with one move, which surprised Li Changsheng a little. After taking a closer look, he immediately understood that this disciple was relying on the power of the flying sword. Li Changsheng was sure that this flying sword definitely did not belong to this disciple, but he could borrow it for his own use. The reason why he was able to send Zhou Hong flying was because of the strength of his sword. "You too, Scram." That disciple had already gained the upper hand, and his face was instantly filled with arrogance. The sword light turned a corner and turned into an afterimage as it shot towards Li Changsheng's chest. Li Changsheng sneered, not to mention that the flying sword did not belong to this disciple. Even if the owner of the flying sword appeared, Li Changsheng would not take it seriously. In the face of the falling flying sword, Li Changsheng only stretched out his finger and gently flicked it. Clang! The crisp sound was very pleasing to the ear. However, that disciple's eyes revealed a look of horror. That was because the extremely sharp long sword had a crack in the middle, and then it directly turned into a pile of debris and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, that disciple was completely dumbfounded and was at a loss for what to do for a moment. "How dare you destroy my master's longsword? I'll fight you to the death." That disciple reacted. His eyes turned red, and he rushed towards Li Changsheng without any sense of reason. At the same time, a longsword appeared in his hand, and with a flash of sword light, stabbed towards Li Changsheng. However, this longsword was very different from the previous one. Li Changsheng did not even look at it. He just casually struck out with his palm, and that disciple directly vomited blood and flew out. Originally, Li Changsheng was too lazy to bother with such a weak disciple. However, The other party had just beaten Zhou Hong to the ground. Li Changsheng was Zhou Hong's master, and naturally, he had to make the decision for his disciple. There was an angry voice in the sky. Where did this reckless thing come from? How dare you make a move on my Mount Jihua? In the sky, a figure quickly appeared and rushed towards Li Changsheng's direction. There were several figures following behind him. After that figure landed, he first went over to help his disciple up and checked his injuries. After confirming that his disciple's foundation was not damaged, he heaved a sigh of relief. He looked up at Li Changsheng, but his eyes were full of coldness. You came to my Mount Jihua to behave atrociously. Do you think that I, Sword Celestial Lang Yuanbai, am just a decoration? When the other party had just appeared, Li Changsheng had already guessed the other party's identity. When he rushed over, there was a sharp intent on his body. It was obvious that he was a sword cultivator. And on this Mount Jihua, there was only one sword cultivator at the profound finger realm, Lang Yuanbai. However, when he heard the other party's words, Li Changsheng chuckled. Sword cultivator, you're worthy. As for the two words, sword celestial, with your little skills, you're not worthy. Li Changsheng said contemptuously. Lang Yuanbai immediately flew into a rage. The thing that he had always been proud of was actually looked down upon by others. It was simply unbearable. At this time, a few other figures also flew over. There was a total of 5 people, and one of them was an old man wearing a Taoist robe. He said, Brother Lang, don't be impulsive. If I'm not wrong, he should be the Heavenly Tao Union's guest elder in the north, Li Changsheng. After speaking, the other party took a step forward and stared at Li Changsheng. He said coldly, I am the Kunlun sect's sect master, Taoist floating dust. My disciple was a genius, but he died in your hands. Young man, I was just about to find you for revenge, but you delivered yourself to my doorstep. It seems like you're really an old man who has eaten arsenic and is tired of living. Taoist floating dust held a long sword in his hand and had a dark green thumb ring on his thumb. It should be the Kunlun sect's sect master's keepsake. The aura on his body was obscure, like a deep pool of water that one couldn't see the bottom of. As expected of the Kunlun sect's sect master, he indeed had some skills. So it's the guest elder in the north. No wonder you're so arrogant and come to my Mount Jihua to behave atrociously. Lang Yuanbai's eyes revealed a bit of battle intent. He was very dissatisfied with Li Changsheng and was eager to give it a try. He opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword. That flying sword was lingering with cold air. It was only the size of a finger, but once it appeared, the temperature of the entire place dropped. Such a heavy, killing aura. Lang Yuanbai's swordsmanship was looked down upon by Li Changsheng. At this moment, he released the life origin flying sword that was being nurtured in his dantian and had the intention to show off. Chapter 612. The few of you gathered here to discuss how to deal with me, right? I have no grudges with you. So why do you have to get involved? Li Changsheng sighed. Cultivators need to be chivalrous. We have been good friends with Taoist floating dust for many years. His disciple was killed by you, so we naturally can't just stand by and watch. An old man who was also wearing a Taoist robe said righteously. May I know who you are? Li Changsheng wanted to see who these people were. I am Song Jingheng, the supreme elder of the Wu-Tang sect. Song Zhen, the sect master of the Wu-Tang sect. I have met him before, and the Wu-Tang sect is also a member of the Sword Alliance. Do you really want to go against me? Li Changsheng said. Song Zhen is my nephew, but so what if you know Song Zhen? Do you want to use this relationship to stop me from taking action? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Hearing Song Jingheng's words, Li Changsheng couldn't help but shake his head. I just saw that it wasn't easy for you to live to such an old age, so I don't want you to fall. You don't know what's good for you and insist on courting death. That's like a dog biting Lu Dongbin. How dare you call me a dog? Song Jingheng was furious. As a supreme elder, he had a revered status in the Wu-Tang sect and was famous in the entire cultivation world. He couldn't tolerate the slightest disobedience. May I know who you are? Li Changsheng looked at another man wearing a long robe. He didn't look like a modern attire, but more like an ancient scholar. The other party didn't look young, but his face was very handsome. He must have been a handsome man when he was young. I am Feng Yuze, known as the sword master of calligraphy. The man had a somewhat elegant demeanor. Li Changsheng shook his head again. Tell me, why don't you enjoy your life and insist on getting involved in this flood? Why do you want to seek your own death? Feng Yuze held a fan in his hand, opened it, and gently waved it. Young man, I don't know where your confidence comes from. You dare to look down on the heroes of the world just because you killed Zhuang Hua. Later, I would like to exchange a few moves with you alone and see what you are capable of. Li Changsheng looked at the last person. He was also an old man in a tang suit. He was powerful and dignified. Li Changsheng valued him the most. Li Changsheng, I have my reasons. The Dragon Lord of the Hong sect, Sidu Qinglong, was killed by you. As the leader of the Hong sect, if I don't seek justice for him, I will become a laughingstock. What a pity! From today onwards, the Hong sect will have a new leader. Li Changsheng shook his head. What he meant was that Fu Gaowu would die here. Fu Gaowu let out a hearty laugh when he heard Chun Fan's words. Young man, you're crazy enough. I like it. Unfortunately, you and I are enemies. Otherwise, I would really drink 300 cups of wine with you. All right, now that I know your names, let's do it together. As soon as Li Changsheng's words fell, the faces of these people suddenly showed a hint of anger. Although they were gathered here at the invitation of Daoist Floating Dust to deal with Li Changsheng, in their opinion, they were already shameless enough to fight Li Changsheng. After all, they were all famous masters for many years. Now that Li Changsheng asked them to do it together, it was obvious that he didn't put them in his eyes. There is no need for everyone to deal with you. I alone am enough. The sword immortal of Mount Jiuhua, Lang Yuanbai's natal flying sword, pierced through the air and shot towards Li Changsheng's forehead. The sword immortal's method was to attack without hesitation. Although Lang Yuanbai said that he didn't care about Li Changsheng, but since Li Changsheng was able to kill Zhuang Hua, he used his full strength. The natal flying sword was so fast that it almost reached Li Changsheng's forehead in the blink of an eye. Before it pierced his forehead, Li Changsheng felt a faint pain on his skin. This swordsmanship is not bad, Li Changsheng said loudly, but there wasn't any panic on his face. He leaned back, and with his feet as an axis, he gently rotated to the right. The flying sword flew past the tip of his nose. Lang Yuanbai wasn't surprised to see his move miss. If Li Changsheng couldn't even dodge one of his moves, he wouldn't be worthy of having so many of them gathered together to discuss how to deal with him. Lang Yuanbai's face revealed a sneer. The flying sword made a turn and flew back, stabbing at Li Changsheng's back. This time, Li Changsheng leaned forward and dodged the flying sword again. Under Lang Yuanbai's command, the flying sword seemed to have a spirit as it constantly stabbed at Li Changsheng from all directions. Li Changsheng's body was constantly spinning, dodging, and dancing. It was dazzling to the eyes like a talent show. Oomph. Young man, you really think I'm playing with you? Lang Yuanbai stomped on the ground. The place where the flying sword had just swept past was densely packed with sword qi, forming a large net and cutting towards Li Changsheng. This was a unique move created by Lang Yuanbai, called Inescapable Net. First, the flying sword's attack was used to confuse the enemy. The power of the flying sword was stored in the trajectory of its flight through a secret method, and suddenly burst out. It was equivalent to the power of hundreds of swords gathered together. This was a fatal move. Boom! Li Changsheng's eyes showed some contemplation. He had already discovered the sword qi left in the air by the flying sword, but Lang Yuanbai had not really used the killing move, so he couldn't see through the mystery. At this moment, he instantly understood a lot. Even Li Changsheng praised the ingenuity of this move in his heart. However, although the sword net formed by the densely packed sword qi was powerful, Li Changsheng didn't take it seriously. Open for me. Li Changsheng didn't dodge the falling sword net. Instead, he faced it head-on, stomped on the ground, and smashed his fist at the sword net. Boom! This punch was purely physical strength, but it seemed to carry an earth-shaking deterrence as it directly hit the middle of the sword net. The fist collided with the sword net, and it instantly tore a hole in the sword net. What a terrifying physical strength. How is it possible? Lang Yuanbai's face changed wildly, and he felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, the moment the sword net was torn open, Li Chongqing's body turned into an afterimage and rushed out, shooting towards Lang Yuanbai to fight him in close combat. Although the attack power of a sword immortal was unparalleled, the powerful part was the flying sword in his hand. At this moment, under Lang Yuanbai's control, the flying sword chased after Li Chongqing's back, but its speed couldn't keep up with Li Chongqing's movement speed. Once Li Chongqing got close to him, Lang Yuanbai didn't dare to imagine what would happen. The situation changed in an instant. Li Chongqing had already rushed in front of him, and the wind from his fist hit him in the face. Lang Yuanbai turned pale with fright. His feet stomped on the ground, and his body quickly retreated, trying to avoid Li Chongqing's fist. But he found that Li Chongqing was like a shadow, and his fist had already reached his chest. It's over. Lang Yuanbai was frightened. At the critical moment, his body hurriedly shifted a little, so Li Chongqing's fist didn't hit his chest and only hit his right shoulder. Bang! With a dull sound, Lang Yuanbai flew out like a kite with a broken string. Before he landed, his entire left arm and half of his body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. When he landed, his face was pale, and half of his body was gone. Everyone in the field sucked in a breath of cold air. At this time, the flying sword arrived at Li Chongqing's side. Li Chongqing just gently turned around and dodged the attack of the flying sword. The flying sword did not continue to attack Li Chongqing. Instead, it flew back to Lang Yuanbai's side and hovered above his head. The tip of the sword was glaring at Li Chongqing like a tiger eyeing its prey. Obviously, it was afraid that Li Chongqing would pursue and attack. With Lang Yuanbai's current physical condition, if he took another punch from Li Chongqing, he would probably die. Everyone in the field was shocked. The outcome of the battle between the two was decided so quickly that the others didn't even have time to rescue him. Chapter 613. The sect master of Kunlun, Taoist floating dust, hurriedly rushed over and stood in front of Lang Yuanbai to prevent Li Chongqing from pursuing him. Lang Yuanbai clenched his teeth. His body was badly mutilated. He stretched out his hand and poked a few times on his body, barely stopping the blood from flowing out. He then took out a pill and smeared it on the wound. Visible to the naked eye, new flesh and blood were regenerated. Flesh and bone. Even Taoist floating dust, Song Jinheng, and the others were surprised. A pill that could achieve such an effect was not an ordinary pill. But even with such a powerful pill, Lang Yuanbai's aura was still very unstable. With Li Chongqing's attack, he might not be able to recover to his peak state without more than 10 years. With just one attack, Li Chongqing broke through Lang Yuanbai's sword net. After rushing out, he heavily injured Lang Yuanbai with a punch. Several people looked at Li Chongqing with fear in their eyes. No wonder you dare to break into Mount Jihua alone. You really have some skill. Let this old man compete with you. Wudong Grand Elder Song Jinheng stood out. As he breathed in and out, it was as if he had become one with the whole world. There was a steady stream of heaven and earth origin qi fusing into his body. The aura on his body continued to rise. This was a kind of breathing technique. Ordinary people knew that Wudong Mountain's secret technique was Taiji Fist. In fact, they didn't know that Wudong Mountain's true technique was true martial arts. Taiji Fist was only the entry technique of true martial arts. Song Jinheng was currently using the breathing technique of true martial arts. As the heaven and earth origin qi continued to gather, a strange image of a snake and turtle appeared behind him. It was the legendary black tortoise. Song Jinheng, I have some friendship with your nephew, Song Jin. For your nephew's sake, I'll let you have 3 moves. After 3 moves, don't blame me for killing you. Li Chongqing put his hands behind his back and said leisurely, Although Li Changsheng had lived for countless years and had seen countless cultivation techniques, the wisdom of man was limitless. In a battle, there would always be people who would think of many wondrous moves that could give Li Changsheng some insights. Just like Lang Yuanbai's sword net technique, it gave Li Changsheng a lot of inspiration. Arrogant. Hearing Li Changsheng say that he would let him make 3 moves, Song Jingheng's eyebrows shot up. He was the grand elder of Wudong's sect, a man who could move unhindered in the world. Since when did he need others to give way to him? From his point of view, Li Changsheng was not being sentimental, but humiliating him. Boom! With one foot on the ground, Song Jingheng had already swung his palm towards Li Changsheng. Immediately, the air rumbled. The snake and tortoise opened their mouths at the same time, and the gray mist surged towards Li Changsheng along with Song Jingheng's palm. Song Jingheng had witnessed the fight between Li Changsheng and Lang Yuanbai and did not dare to underestimate Li Changsheng in his heart. He went all out in this attack. He was determined to give Li Changsheng a show of strength in this battle. However, when he swung his palm, Li Changsheng's feet moved lightly, and his body spun like a top. The moment that powerful palm energy landed on his body, it was brought along by his body's rotation. In the end, it was directly dissolved in this strange way. Li Changsheng said that he would let Song Jingheng make 3 moves. Since he had already spoken, he naturally would not fight back. However, not fighting back did not mean that he would stand there and take the beating. Song Jingheng was also a profound realm expert. Even if Li Changsheng's physique was astonishing, if he was hit accurately, it would be inevitable that his flesh would be torn open. Although it could not injure Li Changsheng's foundation, there was no reason for him to be beaten by him. Again, Song Jingheng's hands danced, forming a perfect circle, forming a Tai Chi pattern. Then, he punched the center of the pattern. Suddenly, a black and a white light mixed together and rushed towards Li Changsheng. When Li Changsheng saw this attack, he stamped his foot on the ground, and his body soared into the air, rising more than 10 meters. The black and white attacks seemed to have a mind of their own. Seeing Li Changsheng dodge, they immediately soared into the sky and rolled towards Li Changsheng. Like a ferocious python, they wanted to crush Li Changsheng's bones. A little interesting, Li Changsheng waited until the attacks were in front of him. Then, he suddenly reached out and grabbed the 2 lights. It was as if he had grabbed the 7 inches of a snake. The lights twisted with all their strength, but they could not escape from his hands. Then he suddenly opened his hands and stuffed the lights into his mouth. In an instant, the aura on his body circulated as if something was about to rush out. A moment later, he completely lost his movement. However, Song Jingheng's expression was extremely unsightly below. His 2 lights, one black and one white, looked like tangible objects. In fact, they were condensed from the yuan qi of heaven and earth. They had no shape or form, but they were caught by Li Changsheng. The most terrifying thing was that his 2 palms contained 2 kinds of baleful aura. Even if a finger-profound realm expert's body was contaminated, they would also be injured. But now, it seemed to have been swallowed into Li Changsheng's stomach and refined. This was simply inconceivable. You still have a chance to make 1 move. Li Changsheng stood in the air. The mountain wind blew his clothes, making him look like a celestial being. You're courting death. Song Jingheng waved his hand again, and a horsetail whisk appeared. With a shake of his arm, the horsetail whisk was like a waterfall, turning into dense long threads that wrapped around Li Changsheng. The power of each thread was like a sharp flying sword. There were probably tens of thousands of them. This move was absolutely brilliant. Who knew that after the dense long threads wrapped around Li Changsheng, before Song Jingheng could even smile, he saw Li Changsheng's figure appear in another direction in the sky. Substitution technique. Song Jingheng suddenly realized. Li Changsheng hadn't made 3 moves in a row, and he hadn't been able to injure Li Changsheng. Now that the 3 moves had passed, once Li Changsheng attacked, it would probably be like a thunderbolt. As expected, in the next moment, A strong sense of danger rose in his heart. Li Changsheng stepped in the air, as if there was an invisible ladder under his feet. At the same time, as his hands danced, a large seal appeared in his bosom. He hugged that large seal and fell from the sky, smashing towards Song Jingheng. This ability was called Sky Flipping Seal. When the seal fell, the entire Mount Jiuhua seemed to tremble slightly. The powerful aura caused the air to crazily surge, and in an instant, it smashed towards Song Jingheng's head. Song Jingheng's complexion wildly changed. He had already guessed that once Li Changsheng made a move, it would be incredible, but he didn't expect that the power would be so great. He only felt stifled, unable to breathe, and his body was even locked down, unable to move for a moment. In desperation, Song Jingheng swung his arm, forcibly blocking Li Changsheng's attack. Bang! The sky flipping seal fell. It was as if the sky and earth were turned upside down. The turbulent power directly smashed Song Jingheng's two arms, causing them to bend. Immediately after, it smashed onto his chest, and Song Jingheng's entire body was smashed into the ground. When the sky-flipping seal dissipated, his hair was disheveled, and he vomited blood as he crawled out of the pit. Li Changsheng's second fist was already coming down, aiming at his head. The power of Li Changsheng's fist could be seen from the broken half of Lang Yuanbai's body. If it really hit, this Wudong Grand Elder would most likely die on the spot. Xiao was going crazy. At this time, Daoist floating dust finally couldn't help but make a move. At the same time, the sword and calligraphy duo Feng Yuze also joined the battle, and the two of them besieged Li Changsheng. Chapter 614. Kunlun's sect master, Daoist floating dust, and Feng Yuze joined the battle at the same time and charged at Li Changsheng. The two of them were peak profound finger realm experts and were at the peak of the world. It must be known that cultivation techniques were divided into different grades, and martial realms were also divided into several levels. Whether it was Daoist, floating dust, or Feng Yuze, there were peak existences in the profound finger realm. I told you to come together, but you didn't listen. Isn't it a bit too late to join forces now? As soon as the two of them joined the battle, Li Changsheng brandished his arms and punched out with both fists. His killing intent soared as he attacked the two of them at the same time. It could be said that he was arrogant. First, he almost killed Lang Yuanbai before severely injuring Song Jingheng. At this moment, his aura was at its peak as he punched out with both fists with indomitable might. The fist energy was like two raging dragons that wreaked havoc. Wherever it passed, it was like a gust of wind sweeping away fallen leaves, causing the mountains and rivers to tremble. Daoist floating dust, and Feng Yuze's expressions changed drastically. Originally, the two of them were already the most powerful cultivators in the world of cultivation. However, the moment Li Changsheng made his move, they felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Fighting two people alone was already so terrifying. If it was in the past, it was simply something they couldn't imagine. However, what shocked them even more was that they found that the space around them seemed to be imprisoned. They wanted to dodge, but they found that the true essence in their bodies was suppressed and couldn't circulate smoothly. There was no way to dodge. In an instant, the two of them revealed bitter expressions as they realized what kind of enemy they had encountered. In the next second, both fists smashed into their chests. Daoist floating dust and Feng Yuze were sent flying at the same time. After landing, they spat out blood. At this moment, even Fu Gaowu, the head of the Hong sect, who had always thought of himself as strong, had an ugly expression. Although Li Changsheng's previous display of strength was strong, it was still traceable. However, this move directly subverted his common sense. Everyone attack together. Only then will we have a chance of winning. Otherwise, no one will live. Fu Gaowu took a step forward and his palm flew out, enveloping Li Changsheng. The heavily injured Feng Yuze, Daoist floating dust, and Song Jingheng all rushed forward. Even Lang Yuanbai, who had lost half of his body, waved his finger. His flying sword turned into a white light, stabbing towards Li Changsheng. Five-peak finger profound realm experts attacking at the same time. Even if a few of them were already heavily injured, the power was still terrifying to the extreme. However, in the face of this unimaginable lineup, Li Changsheng could not help but sneer. He shouted out loudly, "It's time for you guys to witness my true strength." Once these words were spoken, Taoist floating dust and the others had doubts in their hearts as they thought. Could it be that the fist art he used earlier wasn't his strongest attack? The next moment, a flying sword flew out from Li Changsheng's body, turning into an afterimage as it clashed with Lang Yuanbai's intrinsic flying sword. Pucci, like a needle against an awl, the two flying swords met in the air. In the next moment, under the Heartswell sword, Lang Yuanbai's flying sword was directly broken from the middle. The flying sword was closely connected to Lang Yuanbai's blood. Now that the flying sword was broken, he immediately coughed up a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He was already heavily injured, but now it was one disaster after another. The instant the flying sword was broken, the Hong Sek's master Fu Gaowu's attack had already struck Li Changsheng's body. Just as Fu Gaowu's face revealed a slight smile, he suddenly saw Li Changsheng smiling at him. He immediately had a bad feeling. Just as he wanted to retreat, Li Changsheng reached out and grabbed his neck. Li Changsheng then flung him forcefully. Fu Gaowu's entire body spun in the air for more than 10 meters and hung on a crooked tree. The most powerful expert present, the dignified Hong Sek's master, actually had his meridians destroyed by Li Changsheng in just one move. As a result, he was powerless from climbing the tree and was unable to come down for a while. The third to rush up was Taoist floating dust. This Kunlun sect master's strength was profound. Although he was hit by Li Changsheng's fist, he was still able to display 90% of its power. Unfortunately, as soon as he rushed up, a slap landed on his face. As a result, this Kunlun sect master's mouth was filled with teeth. He was also sent flying by this move. When he landed on the ground, his head smashed a large hole in the ground. The remaining Wudong sect's Grand Elder Song Jingheng and Sword Master Feng Yuzi stopped in their tracks. At this time, they knew that rushing up would only bring disgrace upon themselves. Sect Master, that Li Changsheng is coming to cause trouble for you. At this time, several figures quickly rushed over. It was the Kunlun's 7 sons and Grand Elder Sun Zhongyi. However, when they approached, their words came to an abrupt halt. Sect Master, what's wrong? Sun Zhongyi hurriedly rushed to Taoist floating dust. When he helped Taoist floating dust up, his entire face was swollen. He opened his mouth to speak, but he discovered that there were only a few teeth left in his mouth. Elder Song, Lang Yuanbai, and Feng Yuzi. At this time, Sun Zhongyi was finally able to clearly see the faces of the people present. However, when he saw that they were all injured, he was extremely shocked. These were all famous figures in the cultivation world. Normally, they were just legends. He had only heard their names and had never seen them in person. But now, such a group of people had gathered together, and they were actually beaten up. When he looked at Li Changsheng, who was standing there without a single injury, Sun Zhongyi's heart gradually fell to the bottom. Is this guy still human? Taoist floating dust was barely able to stand up with the help of his subordinates. Although Fu Gaowu, Song Jingheng, and the others were injured, they were barely able to stand. Only sword cultivator Lang Yuanbai was in the most miserable state. He had lost half of his body, and his life-bound flying sword had been destroyed. At this moment, he was lying there like a dead dog. Taoist floating dust glared at Li Changsheng. His beloved disciple had been killed, and he had lost a few teeth. If this news were to spread, the reputation of the entire Kunlun sect would be ruined. He really wanted to dismember Li Changsheng into 1,000 pieces. Furthermore, the Kunlun 7 Scions and Sun Zhongyi had rushed over. They were also a powerful force. However, when he noticed Li Changsheng's smile that wasn't a smile, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Indeed, Li Changsheng had handled this battle with ease. Although the Kunlun 7 Scions and Sun Zhongyi were all in the finger profound realm. If they wanted to deal with Li Changsheng, it was no different from hitting a rock with an egg. Finger profound realm experts. You guys could be considered as the strongest forces in the cultivation world. I didn't expect you guys to be so weak. Li Changsheng shook his head with disappointment. He couldn't understand. They were all in the finger profound realm, so how could they be so weak? However, when his expression fell into the eyes of Taoist floating dust and the others, it made them feel ashamed. They also couldn't understand. They were all in the finger profound realm, so how could Li Changsheng be so strong? If they hadn't reached their realm and were sensitive to the world's origin energy, they would have believed that Li Changsheng was already an earth immortal. Chapter 615. Do you guys still want to fight? Li Changsheng quietly looked at the people in front of him. They were all top-notch experts, but they were all lowering their heads in front of him. They were all at the profound realm, but they weren't even on the same level as Li Changsheng, especially when they joined forces at the end. Although some of them were injured, they were still easily defeated by Li Changsheng. Even if they were at their peak, they still wouldn't be able to stop Li Changsheng. If this news were to spread out, it would cause a huge commotion. Kunlun sect Zhuanghua was already famous in the cultivation world, and Li Changsheng's combat strength wasn't even comparable to 100 Zhuanghus. Just based on the strength he revealed in this battle, he was already the #1 expert in the world, an unparalleled existence. We have lost. You can kill us or cut us up as you wish. Taoist floating dust looked straight at Li Changsheng, but his tone was filled with helplessness. The dignified Kunlun sect master never thought that there would be such a day. The others all fell into silence. This battle was too big of a blow to them. Killing you is as easy as lifting a finger for me. When Li Changsheng finished speaking, the 7 sons of Kunlun and Song Zhongyi stared at him. They surrounded Taoist floating dust, afraid that he would kill them, who knew that Li Changsheng would immediately shake his head and say, "Killing you doesn't have much meaning. As long as you swear that you won't cause trouble for my friends and family, my grudge with Kunlun will be written off. Today, not only you, I can let all of you go. But there is one more thing that I hope you all remember. Don't provoke me again, otherwise, even the gods won't be able to protect you." The last sentence was very stern, causing them to subconsciously shrink their necks. "Okay, I swear." Taoist floating dust still wanted to take revenge for his disciple, but he knew that it was impossible. He could only blame his disciple for provoking such a person. Apart from Taoist floating dust, the freak sect's head leader, Fu Gaowu, also made an oath. Okay, today's matter ends here. Li Changsheng had finally put an end to this grudge. In today's battle, although Li Changsheng did not kill anyone, the prestige he had established was indelible in their hearts. To put it bluntly, if Li Changsheng were to establish a sect tomorrow, then his sect would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with these super sects that had been passed down for thousands of years from the day it was established. He alone would be able to surpass any martial arts sect. Since the matter was settled, Li Changsheng turned around and walked down the mountain. Zhou Hong followed closely behind. In the past, people like the Kunlun sect leader and the Mount Jua, a mountain lord, were like immortals to Zhou Hong. Now that they had been defeated by Li Changsheng, he was even happier. His decision to take Li Changsheng as his master had been a wise decision. Li Changsheng and Zhou Hong left Mount Jiuhua and went back the way they came. 2 days later, at the headquarters of the Heavenly Tao Union, the old Union master, Jiang Beitong, was currently drinking tea in the main hall with the Heavenly Law Union's upper echelons accompanying him. The current Union Master, Ho Yi, was chatting with Jiang Beitong. Old Union Master, counting the days, Li Changsheng should have returned from the Kunlun sect, but there is still no news. Could he have died in Kunlun? Hearing Ho Yi's words, Jiang Beitong put down his teacup. It would be a good thing if he died in Kunlun. Otherwise, with such a person in the north, it would not be easy to control him. However, if he really died like this, it would be a pity for such a genius. Yes. However, even if he died, He only has himself to blame. What kind of place is the Kunlun sect? They have thousands of years of foundation. How could he shake them? Just as the two of them were talking, a subordinate rushed in from outside. Old Union Master, we just received news from Kunlun. Li Changsheng went to the Kunlun sect a few days ago. Coincidentally, the Kunlun sect leader was not there. He fought with Kunlun's Grand Elder, Sun Zhongyi, and others at the foot of Mount Kunlun. Kunlun activated 99 formations to kill him. What was the final result? Ho Yi blurted out. Not only him, Zhang Beitong and the other upper echelons also became nervous. In the end, Li Changsheng defeated the 12-finger profound realm experts of Kunlun by himself and broke Kunlun's mountain protection formation. More than half of the formations in Mount Kunlun and countless buildings were destroyed by him. Kunlun suffered heavy losses in this battle. When the disciples said this, the scene fell into silence. The Kunlun sect's formations were Kunlun's strongest foundation. They did not expect that it would be broken by Li Changsheng. Although the crowd did not witness the grand scene of the battle with their own eyes, they were still shocked by the description. 99 formations. Countless jade palaces were destroyed, and the 12-finger profound realm experts were no match for a single punch. Li Changsheng's battle was equivalent to stepping on the Kunlun sect with one foot. What happened after that? Where did Li Changsheng go after that? Zhang Beitong took a deep breath and felt a little regretful in his heart. He originally wanted to give the map with the formations to Li Changsheng, so that when Li Changsheng fought with the Kunlun sect, the difference in strength between the two sides would not be too great. But he did not expect that it would help Li Changsheng to complete the feat of breaking the formations. Those formations were only described briefly, but the other party was able to break them. Could it be that he is an array formation genius? Zhang Beitong's heart was full of doubts. After Li Changsheng broke the formations, he went to find the Kunlun sect master. Where is the Kunlun sect master? Zhang Beitong continued to ask. The Kunlun sect master went to Mount Jiuhua and joined forces with Lang Yuanbai and some friends to deal with Li Changsheng. I heard that the Grand Elder of the Wudong sect, Feng Yuze, and the sect master of the Hong sect, Fu Gaowu, were there. When the disciple said these names, Zhang Beitong's face showed some admiration. Every one of these people was stronger than him, and they were all the top figures in the world. That Li Changsheng dared to go to Mount Jiuhua to find them. Even if he could break the Kunlun sect's formations, he would be courting death. I am afraid that only an earth-level deity could survive such a lineup. Hearing this, Zhang Beitong sneered. If Li Changsheng returned after breaking the Kunlun sect's formations, then Li Changsheng's prestige in the Heavenly Dao Union would be like the sun in the sky. At that time, not to mention the Union Master Ho Yi, even the old Union Master would have to bow his head. The North was not under the jurisdiction of the headquarters, but he did not expect that the drifting dust-perfected cultivator would unite so many super experts, and Li Changsheng still dared to find trouble. This Li Changsheng is young and frivolous. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, but in the end, he still can't escape death. Zhang Beitong heaved a sigh of relief and waved his hand, indicating that the disciple could leave. Who would have thought that the disciple would just stand there and not move? What? You have something to say? Zhang Beitong frowned. I only told you half of the news. The news about Li Changsheng after he went to Mount Jiuhua has already spread. When Li Changsheng ascended Mount Jiuhua, he first fought with Mount Jiuhua's mountain lord, Lang Yuanbai, and defeated him. Later on, he fought with Taoist floating dust, Feng Yuze, Song Jingheng, and Fu Gaowu. None of the 5 top-notch experts were a match for Li Changsheng. In the end, the 5 of them joined forces and were easily defeated by Li Changsheng. The sect master of Kunlun, drifting dust-perfected cultivator, has already announced that the grudge between Kunlun and Li Changsheng will be written off after today. The Hong sect's sect master, Fu Gaowu, has also returned to the overseas headquarters. Mount Jiuhua's Lang Yuanbai is severely injured and is now recuperating in seclusion. Also, the Wudong sect's Elder Song Jinheng and the sword master Feng Yuze have returned to the sect. They have all instructed their disciples to avoid the people of the heavenly Tao Union in the future. When the disciple finished speaking, the scene fell into silence. This news was simply too shocking. Chapter 618. At the central stronghold of the heavenly Tao Union, Li Changsheng brought Zhou Hong to the gate of the garden. There were two huge stone lions in front of the gate, looking majestic and imposing. Just as he was about to ask Zhou Hong to knock on the gate, he saw that the bronze gate had already opened, and several vigilant young men walked out. Judging from their auras, they were all cultivators at the 5th or 6th level of the Qi refining realm. They would be considered experts in the secular world, but in a big force like the heavenly Tao Union, they could only be ordinary disciples guarding the gate. Who are you? What are you doing here? The leader of the group was a young man with delicate features, but his eyes flashed with cold intent. I'm Li Changsheng, a guest elder of the heavenly Tao Union in the north. I want to see the grand elder of the central region, Guiqing. Upon hearing Li Changsheng's name, the vigilant disciple's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with fear and respect. So, it's Elder Li from the north. I'll go inform him immediately. The young man turned and walked inside. The others were no longer glaring at Li Changsheng like before. Their tone of speaking to Li Changsheng and Li Changsheng became more courteous. Elder Li is famous in the northern cultivation world. We've admired you for a long time. The weak often worship the strong. Since Li Changsheng joined the heavenly Tao Union, he had won every battle and defeated several top experts in the world. Now, many people in the heavenly Tao Union regarded Li Changsheng as their idol. Seeing the reverence of these people, Zhou Hong's face was filled with pride. Following such a master, no matter where he went, he would gain a lot of face. Soon after the young man went in, footsteps were heard from inside. Then, a group of people came out. The leader was a middle-aged man in a tang suit. After coming out, he immediately cupped his hands and said, "You must be Elder Li Changsheng, right? I'm Guiqing, the Grand Elder of the Central Region." "Greetings, Elder Gua." Li Changsheng cupped his hands and returned the greeting. Guiqing introduced the people next to him to Li Changsheng. "This is Second Elder Tung Hai and Guest Elder Zhang Zijiang." Li Changsheng then bowed to the two of them. That second elder, Tung Hai, was very polite. Based on Li Changsheng's reputation, even though he looked young, he didn't dare to look down on him. However, although the guest elder Zhang Zijiang also returned the greeting, Li Changsheng could see some hostility on their faces. This made Li Changsheng have no choice but to size them up a few more times. Zhang Zijiang's aura was restrained. He was an expert, but he was only at the peak stage of the Vajra realm. He might be considered an expert in the Heaven Tao Union, but in Li Changsheng's eyes, he was nothing. "Elder Li, let's talk inside." Under Guiqing's lead, many people were quietly sizing up Li Changsheng along the way. "He's the guest elder from the north? He looks so young. I heard that he killed the Hong Sect's dragon lord, Situ Qinglong, and the finger mystic realm expert, Chen Xiang. Even Kunlun's #1 prodigy, Zhuang Hua, died in his hands. I thought he was an old man in his 70s or 80s. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Look at the guest elder from the north. He just joined the north for a short time, but he made the north in existence comparable to the central and western regions. I don't know what kind of luck the north had to find such a super expert." Hearing the conversations of the surrounding disciples, Li Changsheng could clearly feel the killing intent on the face of the guest elder from the central region, Zhang Zijiang, grew stronger. He only needed to think for a moment to understand where this guest elder's killing intent came from. He was the guest elder from the north, while Zhang Zijiang was the guest elder from the central region. However, Zhang Zijiang wasn't famous in the Heaven Tao Union. He was miles away from Li Changsheng. Jealousy, it was actually because of jealousy. Li Changsheng couldn't help but smirk. If a person's cultivation wasn't high, and he didn't find the reason from himself, but was jealous of others, how could he have great achievements? They came to the main hall and sat down. Zhou Hong tactfully stood behind Li Changsheng. He still carried two long sabers on his back, and his attire attracted many people's attention. When they heard that he was Li Changsheng's disciple, a few young disciples were eager to have a try. Obviously, they didn't dare to provoke Li Changsheng, but they wanted to spar with Li Changsheng's disciple. If they could defeat Li Changsheng's disciple, they would gain a lot of face in the future. Li Changsheng didn't object to this. Zhou Hong was about to break through to the Vajra realm, and he was qualified to be an elder in the Heaven Dao Union. If he could have a spar with someone, it might be helpful for him to improve his cultivation. Unfortunately, although those disciples were eager to have a try, they were still afraid of Li Changsheng's reputation, and no one dared to say anything. Zhou Hong didn't notice this. These days, he had reached the most critical juncture of his cultivation, and he was thinking about how to break through to the next realm. He didn't pay much attention to the things around him. Elder Li came to the stronghold of our central region in the capital. You must have something to ask of us, right? The Grand Elder of the central region, Guoqing, asked with a smile. That's right. I have something that I would like to trouble the central region to help me investigate. The Yi clan in the capital seems to have encountered some difficulties recently, and I want to know who is going against the Yi clan. The Yi clan and I have a relationship, and I hope that the central region can help me look after them. After all, the capital city is under the control of the central region. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the Grand Elder Guoqing, the Second Elder Teng, and Yi, as well as everyone in the main hall, had interesting expressions. Seeing the situation, Li Changsheng thought of something. Could it be that the central region of the Heaven Dao Union is going against the Yi clan? Guoqing nodded with a solemn expression. That's right. The central region wants to move its headquarters to the capital city, and naturally, we have to firmly control the businesses around the capital city. The Yi clan is a famous family in the capital city, and their existence has a great impact on the development of the central region. Therefore, there can't be two tigers on one mountain. We want to drive them out of the capital city. I didn't expect that the Yi clan is actually Elder Li's people. So that's how it is. I hope that the central region can let the Yi clan off for my sake. I can guarantee that in the future, when the central region develops businesses in the capital city, the Yi clan will not be your stumbling block. Instead, we will open the door to mutual benefit. What do you think, Elder Gua? Hearing Li Changsheng's words, everyone in the hall fell silent. Guoqing frowned. The Yi clan was deeply rooted in the capital city, and their forces were spread all over the place. The reason why Guoqing attacked the Yi clan was not because the Yi clan would obstruct their development, as he said. After all, the Yi clan was a secular force, and it was too difficult for them to pose a threat to cultivators. Guoqing had his eyes on the vast wealth of the Yi clan in the capital city. As long as he could get his hands on all those businesses, he would be able to make tens of billions a year. Cultivators were also humans, and they needed the support of secular resources. With this sum of money, it was enough to create many experts in the central region. Now, Li Changsheng asked him to give up the Yi clan, which was a fat piece of meat. How could he bear to part with it? Chapter 619. Guoqing's face immediately turned gloomy. Cutting off one source of income was like killing one's parents. Although Li Changsheng was now so famous in the Heavenly Law Alliance that even the Alliance Master Ho Yi in the Western region did not dare to provoke him. The Central region was able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Western region not only because of their cultivation strength, but also because of the special backing of the Central region. Therefore, Guoqing was not afraid of Li Changsheng, even though he was wary of him. Not only Guoqing, but the other senior members of the Central region also showed hostility in their eyes, especially the guest Elder Zhang Zijiang, who said coldly, "Elderly, do you think that the Central region is as timid as the Western region and that we can only swallow our anger when our elder is killed? Listen to my advice. You'd better not get involved in the Yi family's affairs. Don't get yourself involved." Zhang Zijiang sneered after he finished speaking. He had long disliked Li Changsheng, but he knew that he was no match for Li Changsheng with his strength. Now, He took the opportunity of Li Changsheng falling out with the central region to mock him. He was sure that Li Changsheng, who had the backing of the central region, would not dare to fall out with him no matter how strong his martial Dao strength was. So, Elder Gua, you don't plan to give me face? Li Changsheng did not pay attention to Zhang Zijiang at all. He was still staring at the great elder of the central region, Guqing. Originally, he wanted to use the central region's power to find out what difficulties the Yi family had encountered, but he never expected that the central region was the initiator of the matter. Even so, from beginning to end, Li Changsheng still wanted to negotiate and resolve the grudge. However, the attitude of the central region's people made him very unhappy. Being ignored by Li Changsheng, Zhang Zijiang suddenly became angry and shouted, "Li, don't be so shameless. It's just the Yi family. Do you want to go against the central region after becoming the Yi family?" Although Zhang Zijiang was angry, he cleverly put a big hat on Li Changsheng and used the central region to pressure him. Who knew that after hearing his words, Li Changsheng would only laugh disdainfully. So what if I go against the central region? Besides, I'm talking to your great elder, Guqing. Who are you to interrupt? Li Changsheng's words seemed to stab Zhang Zijiang, and he instantly flew into a rage. Li Changsheng, you've gone too far. You're a guest elder, and I'm also a guest elder. Could it be that I have to lower myself to you? What? Do you think you can be compared to me? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Li Changsheng's words caused Guqing's killing intent to surge. Damn you! Instantly, he clenched his fists and was about to attack. Elder Zhang, you can't. Guqing turned pale with fright. Although he was unwilling to let go of the Yi family, he also did not want to fall out with Li Changsheng. And once Zhang Zijiang made a move, it would really become a feud. However, just as Zhang Zijiang's internal energy was circulating, Li Changsheng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped down on Zhang Zijiang. Good timing. I'd like to see if Elder Li, the guest elder of the Western region, is as powerful as the rumors say. Zhang Zijiang's clothes suddenly bulged as he circulated his genuine qi. He raised his fist to meet Li Changsheng's palm. There was a strong fighting intent in his eyes. However, in the next moment, the palm fell without hesitation. Zhang Zijiang's fist was instantly shattered. Then, under the palm, his body was torn into pieces and turned into a pile of minced meat. The strong smell of blood irritated everyone's nostrils, and the place fell into silence. Zhang Zijiang, the guest elder of the central region, was easily killed by Li Changsheng. This made everyone's heads buzz, and some of them did not dare to imagine. Although Li Changsheng was famous, how dare he kill someone in the headquarters of the central region? Everyone was stunned by Li Changsheng's means. At this time, Li Changsheng's eyes fell on Guqing again. Elder Gua, can you give me face and let the Yi family go? These few words were murderous, and it seemed that if there was a disagreement, he would directly kill Guqing. At that moment, Guqing felt as if a whole mountain was pressing on his heart, and even breathing became difficult. What a terrifying aura. Guqing was shocked. He was also a profound realm expert, and usually thought highly of himself. Although he heard of Li Changsheng's deeds and was very surprised, in his heart, he thought that even if he was not as good as Li Changsheng, he should not be too far behind. But until this moment, he suddenly understood that compared to Li Changsheng, he was like an ant. An ant wanting to stand shoulder to shoulder with a mountain was undoubtedly a very stupid thing. The Yi family is very important to the central region. Guqing took a deep breath and spat out these few words with difficulty. He had already made his intentions clear. The Yi family's wealth was too great, so great that he, the great elder of the central region of the Heavenly Tao Union, coveted it and was unwilling to give it up easily. If you don't let the Yi family go, then I will remove your central region from the 5 divisions of the Heavenly Tao Union. As Li Changsheng's words fell, endless murderous intent spread out. The courage that Guqing had just mustered disappeared in an instant under the murderous intent. He looked at Li Changsheng and saw the determination in Li Changsheng's eyes. No matter how great the power behind you is, If you offend me, you will die without a burial place." After speaking, Li Changsheng turned and left. Only when Li Changsheng and his disciple completely disappeared from everyone's sight did Guiqing and the others let out a long sigh of relief. Just now, they had the impulse to die at any time. "Great Elder, what should we do?" Second Elder Tung and Yi asked. "Now we only have two choices. The first is to admit defeat to Li Changsheng and give up on dealing with the Yi family. However, the central region of the Heavenly Tao Union will lose face, and we won't be able to raise our heads in front of the people of the North in the future. The second choice is to immediately call for reinforcements and ask the war god to deal with Li Changsheng. However, if even the war god can't deal with Li Changsheng, then our central region might really be eradicated by him. After all, we have all witnessed his strength." Hearing Guoqing's words, Second Elder Tung and Yi, as well as the other higher-ups, fell silent. Neither choice was the best for the central region. They would either lose their dignity and backbone, or they would have to bear the risk. "Great Elder, what do you think we should do?" Tung and Yi frowned. They had no idea about the survival of the central region. This Li Changsheng is so arrogant. How can our central region let him do as he pleases? "Second Elder, you will be in charge from now on. I will personally go find reinforcements. This Li Changsheng thinks that our central region is easy to bully, but he doesn't know what kind of backing we have." After speaking, Guiqing walked out of the hall quickly. Just as he was about to ask his subordinates to prepare the carriage, he saw a figure standing quietly on the wall of the courtyard. Li Changsheng didn't leave immediately, but he was waiting for the central region to make a decision. Chapter 620. Guiqing was shocked. He didn't expect Li Changsheng to stay. His eyes were filled with fear. Just as he was about to say something, Li Changsheng raised his hand and threw the overturning sky seal at Guiqing. He didn't want to waste time with the man in front of him. He had given him many chances before. As the overturning sky seal fell, Guiqing's eyes were filled with despair. He found that the air around him seemed to have solidified. His true essence was like a pool of stagnant water. He could only wait for death. "Elder Li is the guest elder of the Western region. If you kill me, you will become a sinner in the Heavenly Tao Union." Guoqing could only rely on his relationship with the Heavenly Tao Union to make Li Changsheng stop. However, Li Changsheng's face didn't change at all. He watched the overturning sky seal fall, and Guoqing was about to die. However, the seal stopped less than a finger away from Guoqing's head. It wasn't because of Guoqing's words. It was because a figure in the sky was closing in on Li Changsheng. He was at the peak of the profound finger realm. In a split second, Li Changsheng had determined that the man was no less powerful than Fu Gaowu, the leader of the Hong sect. He was one of the most powerful fighters in the world. Guoqing's face was covered in sweat, but there was a hint of joy in his eyes. His reinforcements had arrived. The martial god, Mei Guanjing, was known as the guardian of the Imperial Brocade Guards. Just like the sect master of Kunlun, immortal floating dust, he was the backer of the central region in the capital city. Mei Guanjing appeared with a long spear in his hand. It was made of black iron and was filled with coldness. "How dare you kill someone in the capital city? Do you think I am just a decoration?" In the sky, a thunderous voice spread in all directions. The leaders of the central region heard the voice and were overjoyed. They rushed out one by one. Li Changsheng had become famous recently, but it was only a rumor. Mei Guanjing was the backer of the central region. He was known as the martial god and the most powerful man in the capital city. Li Changsheng merely sneered when he saw how happy the people from the central region were. He dispersed the sky-turning seal in his hand, then turned around and punched out at Mei Guanjing, who was approaching him from afar. His fist force transformed into the shape of a dragon, tearing through the void and smashing into Mei Guanjing's body. The number one expert in the capital let out a miserable cry and turned into a black dot in the sky, disappearing from everyone's sight. He had been sent flying by a single punch. The smiles on the faces of those from the central region froze. Great Elder Guiqing, who had heaved a sigh of relief, felt his legs go soft. Li Changsheng turned his head and did not make any unnecessary movements. Guiqing had already knelt on the ground with a plop. Perhaps before this, in the face of Li Changsheng's sky-flipping seal, although he was afraid, the pride in his heart still supported him to bravely face death. But after experiencing the threat of death once, he knew that kind of fear. There was hope in despair, but as soon as the hope was ignited, it was thrown into the bottomless abyss. The mental torment of such ups and downs had completely destroyed Guo Qing's pride. At this moment, he only wanted to live. Elderly, I was wrong. The Central Region is willing to listen to you and turn hostility into friendship with the Yi family. I am willing to personally go to the Yi family to apologize. I beg you to be magnanimous and spare my life. Guiqing knelt there, his voice trembling. A dignified profound realm expert was now like a stray dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy. Li Changsheng's eyes revealed some disdain. He had originally come to negotiate with them with kind words, but the other party did not take him seriously. Now, he was kneeling and begging for mercy. It was really ridiculous. Humph, I will spare your life this time. I hope you will do as you say. If you play any tricks again, the entire Central Region will be buried with you. After that, he turned to his disciple Zhou Hong and instructed, You go to the villa in the suburbs alone first. This made Guanjing dare to have the intention to kill me just now. I will go and teach him a lesson. After that, he stomped on the ground and leaped into the air, chasing in the direction where Mei Guanjing had disappeared. At this moment, in a large courtyard in the suburbs of the capital, Mei Guanjing was sitting on the sofa with his hand on his chest. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. What a powerful fist force! It injured me severely in an instant from such a distance. It seems that the attacker should be the guest elder from the north, Li Changsheng. I was not convinced at first, but now it seems that I have overestimated myself. Mei Guanjing muttered to himself. In the courtyard outside the house, there were many young men practicing martial arts. All of them were bare-chested, revealing their strong and dark muscles. As they punched and moved, their skin shone brilliantly under the sun. Every punch and kick contained a powerful force of qi and blood. These were the subordinates that Mei Guanjing had carefully selected. He was known as the guardian of the embroidered uniform guards in the cultivation world, but he really wanted to establish a team of embroidered uniform guards to monitor the cultivation world. These subordinates who were training were the initial team that he wanted to build. These people were all in the innate realm, and each of them could be called a martial arts genius. It was quite impressive for them to have such cultivation in their 20s. A total of 20 subordinates under Mei Guanjing's personal guidance would grow into a terrifying force in the future. I saw Mr. Mei enter the house just now. It seems like he fell from the sky. What fall? He clearly flew down. Mr. Mei's strength is the best in the capital. He is the #1 expert in the capital. But why did I see blood flowing from the corner of Mr. Mei's mouth? Not to mention the capital. Even if you look at the whole world, how many people can compete with Mr. Mei? That's true. Just as they were discussing, someone suddenly exclaimed, Look, what is that? They saw a black spot in the sky getting bigger and bigger, and soon it was in front of them. It was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. Mei Guanjing, you dare to have killing intent towards me? Get out here and accept your punishment. In the hall, Mei Guanjing was treating his injuries when he suddenly opened his eyes. Hearing the voice outside, his face was filled with anger. He was the #1 expert in the capital. It was already a great humiliation for him to be sent flying with a single punch, but the other party was relentless in coming after him. Killing someone with just a nod of the head was simply too much. However, there was more fear in his eyes. He had already established an invincible prestige in front of these geniuses in the courtyard. If he was dealt with by Li Changsheng in front of them, he would lose all his prestige. It would be worse than killing him. What should I do? Mei Guanjing was at a loss for a moment. He had also witnessed Li Changsheng's strength. Based on that punch, just now, he was absolutely no match for him. Even if he wanted to escape now, he had nowhere to run. However, if he went out and lowered his head to Li Changsheng, would he still have any face left? After hesitating for a moment, Mei Guanjing took a deep breath, stood up, and walked out of the room. When the door opened, all the geniuses in the courtyard looked at Mei Guanjing. Mei Guanjing tidied his clothes and cupped his hands. Elder Li, I am the martial god, Mei Guanjing, the #1 expert in the capital. My master is... Before he could finish, Li Changxing's body had already descended from the sky. He punched Mei Guanjing's chest, sending him flying 100 meters away. At the same time, he rushed over and stepped on Mei Guanjing's throat. He looked down at Mei Guanjing, who was under his foot, and said coldly, I don't care who your master is. This is the consequence of daring to have killing intent towards me. Chapter 6:21. Mr. Mei actually lost. How is this possible? How could Mei Guanjing lose? The group of youths stood there in a daze. They didn't dare to believe it, and they didn't want to believe it. Mei Guanjing had already planted the seed of invincibility in their hearts. But now Li Changsheng had stepped on Mei Guanjing in front of them. This wasn't just a humiliation to Mei Guanjing. It also caused a monument in the hearts of these young geniuses to collapse. Li Changsheng, you've gone too far. Mei Guanjing's eyes were red. Li Changsheng had destroyed his image in the hearts of these youths, causing him to lose all face. The #1 expert in the capital was stepped on. This wasn't just a simple defeat. It was a great humiliation. Li Changsheng sneered. He lifted his leg and kicked Mei Guanjing's ribs. With a crack, Mei Guanjing's body brushed against the ground and flew more than 10 meters away. Blood spurted out from his mouth like a high-pressure water gun. This kick didn't just break his ribs, it also severely injured his internal organs. Even a finger-profound realm expert like Mei Guanjing would need more than half a year to recover. After taking Mei Guanjing away, Li Changsheng didn't pay attention to those young geniuses who were standing there in a daze. He took a step forward and his body rose into the air again. He disappeared from everyone's sight like a big bird. Now, as the news of the battle on Mount Jihua spread, there were already people who faintly called Li Changsheng the #1 expert in the cultivation world. A person who could defeat several peak finger profound realm experts could already be recorded in history. However, it was also because of this title of the #1 expert in the cultivation world that many people were tempted to take action. For example, Mei Guanjing. Since Li Changsheng had just appeared in the capital, he had already begun to follow Li Changsheng. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to appear at the central stronghold of the Heavenly Tao Union when Guoqing was in danger. As the saying went, there was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Who wouldn't want to fight for first place? Especially someone like Mei Guanjing. If he could defeat Li Changsheng or fight to a draw with Li Changsheng, then it would undoubtedly be much easier for him to establish the embroidered uniform guard in the cultivation world. After all, although Li Changsheng was strong, it was only in the rumors. People had not seen it with their own eyes, so they always held a trace of hope in their hearts. How could Li Changsheng not know? When Mei Guanjing was following him, he had already noticed it. He knew that there were always people in the world who didn't know the difference between life and death. So, even though he had sent Mei Guanjing flying with a punch, he still chased after Mei Guanjing to teach him a lesson and completely ruin his reputation. This was to make an example out of him, to let those who secretly held hope in their hearts to consider their own strength. At the very least, from now on, those who thought they were weaker than Mei Guanjing wouldn't dare to provoke Li Changsheng. If Li Changsheng had stopped chasing after Mei Guanjing after sending him flying with a single punch, a few days later, Mei Guanjing might have announced to the outside world that he had exchanged blows with Li Changsheng and was slightly inferior to him. Even more shamelessly, he might have claimed that he had fought to a draw with Li Changsheng and that Li Changsheng did not dare to chase after him and fight to the death. If it was in the past, Li Changsheng would naturally not care about this kind of thing, but now that he had decided to establish his own sect, he had to pay attention to his own reputation. Only by establishing an unshakable image would he be able to intimidate those demons and ghosts. Even if Li Changsheng wasn't on Earth, he could still deter people for decades. With Li Changsheng's speed, it only took him a dozen minutes to reach the villa in the suburbs from the capital city. Looking up from the bottom of the mountain, the whole mountain was shrouded in clouds and mist. The sea of clouds was surging, just like a fairyland. These clouds and mist were not ordinary mist, but the spirit-gathering array arranged by Li Changsheng, which gathered the surrounding spiritual energy. It could be said that if one cultivated in this mist, they could achieve twice the result with half the effort. However, although this mist was close at hand, unless one was a profound realm expert, it was impossible to get close to it. Li Changsheng had arranged the great mountain protecting array, and the killing intent was dormant. If ordinary cultivators dared to force their way in, they couldn't avoid the fate of being smashed to pieces. Walking on the mountain path, this killing array naturally couldn't stop Li Changsheng, the one who arranged the array. He walked all the way back to the villa. Just as he opened the door of the courtyard, he heard a loud shout. "Who dares to break in my Big Dipper array?" A beautiful figure attacked Li Changsheng with a swift and fierce wind. The corners of Li Changsheng's mouth curled up into a smile. He raised his hand and lightly blocked, catching the other party's fist in his palm. At the same time, his palm turned, and with a light shake, a figure flew through the air and fell to the ground. It was none other than Azu, who was in charge of guarding. "Azu, don't be rude." At this time, Lu Chong and Zhou Hong hurried to greet her. Azu's face was crimson. She looked at Li Changsheng with a hint of fighting spirit in her eyes. Azu had also broken through to the innate realm. She had indeed made rapid progress with the help of the spiritual qi in this array. "Greetings, Mr. Li." After seeing Li Changsheng, Lu Chong hurriedly saluted. Li Changsheng waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be so polite, and then looked at Azu. "You knew it was me, so you deliberately sneak-attacked me, didn't you? But your kung fu has indeed improved. Your master's training is not in vain. It's all thanks to the array arranged by Mr. Li," Lu Chong hurriedly said. He looked at Lu Chong. While Li Changsheng was talking to Lu Chong, he found that Lu Chong's current realm was similar to Zhou Hong's. They were both at the peak of the innate realm. Unlike Zhou Hong's qi and blood were vigorous, like a young general breaking through the border. He could break through to the Vajra realm at any time. On the other hand, Lu Chong gave off a feeling of decay. This meant that his potential had been exhausted. If he did not have a fortuitous encounter, he was afraid that he would stop at this level for the rest of his life. Li Changsheng had already seen through Lu Chong's aptitude, so he did not find it strange. "By the way, Mr. Li, someone came to visit a few days ago. He said that he was Mr. Li's friend. Out of caution, I did not dare to open the array to let him in. Instead, I went out to meet that person. That person was mysterious and was shrouded in a black robe. Before he left, he asked me to pass a message to you." "Oh, who was that? What message did he ask you to pass?" Li Changsheng thought about it and did not seem to have such a friend. Now that he was famous in the world, all kinds of demons and ghosts would jump out. It was normal for strange people to appear. "That person asked me to pass a message to you. He said that the day of the Earth Immortal Ascension, or the day when Master and Disciple meet." Li Changsheng's heart suddenly trembled. Earth Immortal? Master? He thought of the figure in the deepest part of his memory, the mysterious Master who taught him the 9 transformations of the God Fiend. He had also wondered if the Earth Immortal Tao would open the door to another world and meet his Master. After all, he had lived for a long time by cultivating that set of cultivation methods. His master must have lived for endless years as well. At this moment, when he heard this news, he was stunned on the spot. Could it be that I guessed right? After the Earth Immortal Realm, I will enter another world? But if Master has already gone to another world, how can he still ask someone to pass a message to me? Chapter 622. What's wrong? Lu Chong hurriedly asked when he saw Li Changsheng in a daze. Nothing. Only now did Li Changsheng react. He looked calm on the surface, but his heart was already in a perilous situation. Could it be that my master is still alive? Will there be a day when we meet again? In this world, Li Changsheng had seen too many profound finger realm experts. With so many outstanding existences, it was impossible for there to be no earthly immortal realm experts. That meant that it was really as he guessed. Stepping into the earthly immortal realm would automatically enter another world, just like the legendary Ascension. After 99 reincarnations of cultivation, Li Changsheng had a premonition that he would surely be different in this lifetime. Looks like I have to quickly establish a sect and establish my own force to protect my loved ones. If by any chance I enter another world the moment I step into the earthly immortal realm, then I'm afraid I won't have enough time to set up a plan. With so many thoughts in his mind, Li Changsheng was unable to settle down for a moment. He returned to his room and sat cross-legged there, but he was still unable to cultivate. His heart was already in a mess. Forget it. I won't be able to figure it out even if I sit here and think blindly. Why don't I cultivate at ease and wait until I break through to the earthly immortal realm? Then the truth will naturally come to light. Li Changsheng suppressed those complicated thoughts, and his mind gradually entered into a state of emptiness. Dense heaven and earth essence qi entered his body with every breath he took. This place gathered the spirit qi of the entire capital, and it was the best heaven and earth essence qi for cultivating the 9 revolutions of the fiend god. In his dantian, a sapling gently swayed. It was the chaotic green lotus. The chaotic green lotus sapling was also absorbing the spirit qi that entered Li Changsheng's body. This sapling was like an ancient giant beast that could absorb any essence qi. After the chaotic essence qi entered the sapling for a long time, the sapling lightly shook its leaves. Instantly, pure essence qi once again filled his dantian and circulated throughout his body along his meridians. It was actually purer and stronger than any heaven and earth essence qi that Li Changsheng had ever seen. Could this be chaotic essence qi? This chaotic green lotus is actually able to transform ordinary essence qi into chaotic essence qi. Li Changsheng's face revealed a look of ecstasy. Just like how ordinary plants could photosynthesize, absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, this chaos green lotus seedling could release chaos energy. The chaos qi was the origin qi of all things that created the world. Using the chaos qi to temper one's body was of a higher grade than any other qi in the world. Rumble. After the primal chaos yuan qi circulated through his body, strands of spirit qi fused into Li Changsheng's body. Li Changsheng could clearly feel that the quality of his body had improved by another level. His blood and qi flowed rapidly like a surging river. His entire body was like a furnace steaming with hot steam. As he inhaled and exhaled, dense heaven and earth spirit qi poured into Li Changsheng's body, forming a spirit qi vortex above his head. All 10,008 pores on his body opened their mouths. The spirit qi finally turned into liquid and seeped into his skin. In the end, every part of his skin was breathing. The majestic spirit qi passed through his meridians. During this process, his meridians were constantly expanding. Finally, it was like 100 rivers flowing into the sea, merging into his dantian and being absorbed by the green lotus sprout. Every once in a while, the green lotus seedling would spit out a strand of chaotic essence qi and circulate it throughout his body. Li Changsheng's body was constantly transforming. After an unknown amount of time, Li Changsheng opened his eyes from his silent state. He exhaled a breath, which formed a white light. It directly pierced through the formation he had set up in front of him. The ground beneath his feet actually trembled. The legendary god opened his eyes and saw the day, closed his eyes and saw the night. His voice was like thunder, and his breath was like the wind. At this moment, Li Changsheng actually had the aura of a god. He broke the array in a single breath. His entire body, even his gaze, could be used to kill the enemy. He slowly stood up. When he opened and closed his eyes, there were bolts of lightning raging in them. He carefully felt the changes in his body. Every blood vessel was like a river. His blood had become a rushing river. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and internal organs seemed to have become immortal residences, overflowing with immortal chi. Every hair on his body was comparable to a flying sword. He opened his mouth and gently spat out a word. Suddenly, it was like thunder, shaking the entire room. At this moment, Li Changxing's eyes were filled with joy. The peak of the profound finger realm, half a step away from the earth immortal realm. This time, he had inexplicably reached such a state during his seclusion. He benefited from the green lotus seedling in his dantian and also benefited from the surging spirit chi here, as well as his long years of accumulation. It was as if the great Tao of the earth immortal realm was right in front of him. Li Changxing slowly closed his eyes and began to familiarize himself with the power in his body. The reason why he had such a powerful aura just now was because his strength had suddenly multiplied by countless times. As a result, he was unable to adapt to the power in his body. He sensed every detail of his body. Now that he was so powerful, he could kill someone with just a glare or a word. He was like a hedgehog with thorns all over his body. He could not be touched or touched. If he was not careful, he could hurt someone. After a long time, when he opened his eyes again, the terrifying aura on his body had disappeared. He stepped out of the room and saw Zhou Hong, Lu Chong, and Zhu waiting outside. Obviously, the sound he made just now had alarmed them. However, they did not dare to break into the room and could only wait outside. "Mr. Li, are you okay? I just saw that the protective array outside was broken." Lu Chong asked worriedly. "It's okay. I just couldn't control my power well while practicing." Hearing Li Changxing's words, Lu Chong nodded. "Master." At this moment, Zhou Hong took a step forward and was about to say something. Li Changxing had already spoken first. "You have broken through to the Vajra realm? Not bad, not bad." Zhou Hong originally wanted to report the good news to Li Changxing, but he did not expect that Li Changxing would see through him at a glance. "Master, you promised me that once I break through to the Vajra realm, you will accept me as your disciple." Zhou Hong looked at Li Changxing with eagerness and passion. When he was in the innate realm, he knew that Li Changxing was very powerful, but he did not know how powerful he was. After breaking through to the Vajra realm, he thought that he was an expert. However, when he faced Li Changxing, he felt that Li Changxing was like a bottomless abyss filled with layers of fog that could not be seen through. Moreover, the more he probed, the more he felt a sense of fear. Only then did he realize that the gap between him and his master was like heaven and earth. "All right, I will keep my word. Today, Lu Chong and Zhu will be the witnesses to officially accept you as my disciple." Hearing Li Changxing's agreement, Zhou Hong's face was filled with excitement. Zhu, who was at the side, did not understand. Zhou Hong was already a Vajra realm expert and was considered a first-class expert in the world. Logically, he should be able to establish a sect and accept disciples. Why did he have to acknowledge Li Changxing as his master? After breaking through to the Vajra realm, he could be as carefree and unrestrained as he wanted. Why did he have to find himself a master? Wouldn't it be an additional layer of restraint? Chapter 623. No matter how much time passes, I only care about you. His phone suddenly rang. Li Changxing took out his phone from his pocket and pressed the answer button. It was a hearty voice on the phone. "Coach Li, where are you now?" "I'm Wang Dongsheng. I haven't seen you for a long time. When are you coming back to Qingzhou?" "So it's you. A cool guy like you can't get anything out of me. You haven't even called me once in a few months. What's the matter?" Li Changxing joked when he heard it was Wang Dongsheng. Wang Dongsheng was one of the 4 young masters of Qingzhou University. He was famous for his coldness. If there was nothing important, even Li Changxing, as a coach, rarely received a call from him. "Hee. Coach, you guessed it right. Here's the thing. I'm going to get married to Jean Wenwen officially in a few days. I I hope you can come to our wedding banquet. Wang Dongsheng couldn't hide the joy in his voice. Li Changsheng was a little surprised. Wang Dongsheng hadn't even graduated from university this year, but he was going to get married. As if he had guessed Li Changsheng's question, Wang Dongsheng explained, "Here's the thing. Wenwen is going to study abroad for 3 years. So we decided to get married first. So that's how it is. Congratulations to you." Li Changsheng smiled. "We're going to have our wedding in Suzhou in 7 days. Coach Li, you must come." "Okay, no problem." After hanging up the phone, Li Changsheng officially accepted Zhou Hong as his disciple under the witness of Lu Chun and his disciple. Zhou Hong bowed 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. He presented the apprenticeship invitation and performed the apprenticeship ceremony. After drinking the apprenticeship tea, Zhou Hong officially became Li Changsheng's disciple and became Li Changsheng's first disciple. This was just a simple ceremony. If one were to follow the procedure, they would have to meet Zhou Hong's parents and invite all of their friends and family to witness the ceremony. Li Changsheng did not care about these formalities. After the apprenticeship ceremony ended, he urged Zhou Hong to consolidate his martial arts realm. He had just broken through, and not only did he need to adapt to the control of his body strength, he also needed to build a good foundation. A tall building starts from the ground. If his foundation was not solid, then it would be like a castle in the air, and it would be even more difficult to reach the mysterious finger stage. No matter how good a person's cultivation aptitude was, they still had to constantly work hard. The two complemented each other. Closing his eyes and breaking through to the next realm was as easy as eating or drinking. Li Changsheng had never seen such a genius before. No matter how good one's martial talent was, it was like a piece of unpolished jade. If it wasn't polished, it wouldn't be able to display its beauty. Li Changsheng, who had broken through to the peak of the finger profound realm, also decided to leave the villa at the top of the mountain to properly relax. He was different from Zhou Hong. He had cultivated the 9 revolutions of the divine devil for tens of thousands of years, accumulating time and time again. His foundation was already solid enough, so he did not need to consolidate his realm. Instead, he needed to relax his mind and balance work and rest. At Li Changsheng's realm, if he wanted to improve, it was not just about bitter training. Instead, he needed to comprehend the way of nature and the principles of heaven and earth. From there, he could truly achieve the unity of heaven and man. After arranging everything, Li Changsheng went down the mountain villa and arrived at the capital's Golden Tree building. Just as he walked to the stairs, he saw the security captain from that day. Behind the security captain were 7 or 8 subordinates who were patrolling. After seeing Li Changsheng, one of them immediately shouted, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing sneaking around here?" It was Li Changsheng's fault for wearing 2 ordinary clothes. In a place like the Golden Tree building, people talked and laughed with riches and honor. Even the security guards were a cut above the rest. If one dressed too casually, it was easy to be looked down upon. But when the security guard spoke, Li Changsheng did not have time to answer. He was fiercely glared back by the security captain. Then, he squeezed out a flattering smile and greeted him. "So it's this gentleman." The security captain hurriedly took out a pack of Zhonghua cigarettes and quietly gave it to Li Changsheng. "When was I not sensible? A small security guard like me is not qualified to smoke Zhonghua cigarettes. I beg you to take back the cigarettes. It was my fault that day." Looking at the bitter face of the security captain, Li Changsheng could not help but laugh. It turned out that when he saw Li Changsheng and Yi Shuang leaving hand in hand that day, the security captain was scared witless. He could not sleep well every day. To be able to become the security captain of the Golden Tree Group, he used a lot of connections. If he was fired like this, he would lose a lot. Moreover, the Golden Tree Group paid security guards a lot of money. As the captain, he could earn a lot of money. Where could he find such a good job? "It's okay. You can smoke without worry." Li Changsheng used his hand to block the cigarette from the other party. "I know you're general manager. You have been working hard as the security captain for a day. Moreover, I see that you have a kind face. At first glance, I can tell that you are a good person. giving you cigarettes is because I feel that you and I hit it off. Li Changsheng just sent a text message to Yi Shuang. Yi Shuang said that she was in a meeting. Anyway, he would have to wait for a while. He was not in a hurry. Although the security captain exuded a mercenary aura when he bragged, it was refreshing and refined. Since he had nothing to do, he chatted with him for a while to pass the boring time. Really, the security captain foolishly looked at Li Changsheng. After confirming that Li Changsheng was not lying, he put away the Zhonghua cigarettes. At this time, Li Changsheng took out a cigarette and handed it to the security captain. He also lit one for himself. The two sat on the steps and chatted about some useless topics. The 7 or 8 security guards behind them looked at each other. They knew the temperament of their captain best, but he seemed to be respectful to this seemingly ordinary young man, which made them puzzled. Changsheng, my father is also in the company today. He heard that you came and wants to see you. Can you come in? Or I can take my father out to see you. Yi Shuang sent a text message. No, uncle. I can go in. Li Changsheng immediately replied. If he did not have a relationship with Yi Shuang, although Yi Haoran was the head of the Yi family, he would not be arrogant enough to let Li Changsheng go in to see him. But with the relationship with Yi Shuang, it was different. Yi Haoran was his elder. Of course, he could not let the elder come out to see him. I will go in first. Talk to you later. Li Changsheng patted the security captain's shoulder. He stood up and walked into the company. On the other hand, the security captain was flattered and honored. He actually talked with the general manager's boyfriend for such a long time. This was enough for him to brag for a long time. Several patrolling security guards saw Li Changsheng leave. Only then did they dare to come closer. One of them doubtfully said, Captain, that kid is wearing ordinary clothes. Why did you let him in? What if he makes the leader unhappy? Hearing his subordinate's words, the security captain immediately stared at him. What nonsense are you talking about? Look at your eyesight. No wonder you can only be a small security guard. Let me tell you a secret. The young man just now is extraordinary. He is the boyfriend of Yi Shuang, the general manager of our Golden Tree Group. Hearing the security captain's words, several security guards were in disbelief. What? You don't believe it? Let me tell you. I saw him and Yi Shuang leave hand in hand that day with my own eyes. It can't be. Captain, you are fooling us again. That's right. With his appearance, even I looked down on him. How could Boss Yi find such a boyfriend? Because the security captain often bragged. Even his team members didn't believe his words very much. Chapter 6:24. In the conference room of the Golden Tree Building, the chairman of the company, the head of the Yi family, Yi Haoran, was having a meeting with the senior executives. His daughter Yi Shuang was sitting next to him. Recently, the crisis of the Yi family was suddenly resolved, and all the companies returned to normal operations. As the chairman of the Golden Tree Group, Yi Haoran happened to visit the company today. When he heard his daughter say that Li Changsheng was here, he wanted to go out and greet him, but Yi Shuang said to let Li Changsheng come up. Thinking of his daughter's relationship with Li Changsheng, Yi Haoran didn't insist. The meeting was about to reach the most important part, which was the cooperation project between the Golden Tree Group and another company. Suddenly, Yi Haoran and his daughter stood up at the same time. They asked the senior executives present to wait for a moment, and then they walked out of the conference room together. There was a lot of discussion in the conference room. They didn't understand the situation between the chairman and his daughter. Not long after, a young man came in with them. Yi Haoran personally moved a chair and put it next to Yi Shuang for the young man to sit down. Suddenly, many people began to whisper to each other. What's going on? Who is this young man? How is he qualified to attend the meeting of the senior executives of the Golden Tree Group? Is the chairman going to arrange another relative in the company? Yi Haoran introduced under the puzzled eyes of the crowd. This is Li Changsheng, Mr. Li. He just came to see Shuang. So I want him to sit next to her. After Yi Haoran finished speaking, someone immediately objected. The cooperation of the next project is our company's trade secret. Who is he? Isn't it inappropriate for him to sit here and listen? The one who spoke was a young man in a suit with slick back hair. He was handsome and looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. He was definitely an elite to be able to have a seat in the meeting of the highest level of the Junka group. However, the young man looked at Li Changsheng with a bit of hostility. Not to mention a supermaster like Li Changsheng. Many people present could easily detect this hostility. The source of this hostility was Yi Shuang, who was sitting next to Li Changsheng. When a young man looked at Yi Shuang, he had a bit of passion. Yi Shuang was the eldest daughter of the Yi family. She was the real daughter of the Yi family, and she was as beautiful as a flower. It would be strange if she didn't have admirers. Although many people knew that the real reason the young man spoke was because of Yi Shuang, after the young man spoke, many people immediately agreed. In their opinion, it was against the rules to let an outsider sit next to such a high-level meeting. Yes, Chairman, you should ask this gentleman to leave first. It won't be too late for you to talk after the meeting. Another elder from the Golden Tree Group also spoke. If it was in the past, with this elder's position in the Golden Tree Group, even the chairman, Yi Haoran, would have to give him some face. But today, after the elder spoke, Yi Haoran directly shook his head. The reason why I invited Mr. Li in is not only because he is Shuang Er's good friend, but also because the project we're going to work on is related to him. Hearing this, many people were surprised. Chairman, can you make it clearer? How is he related to this project? The Grand Elder asked doubtfully. Everyone else in the meeting room was also confused. Even Yi Shuang's eyes were filled with curiosity. The company we want to cooperate with is Junka Group. But do you know who is in charge of Junka Group? Yi Haoran said. The young man who had a crush on Yi Shuang immediately spoke. Of course, it's General Manager Ren Juntang. Ha, you are right and wrong. Ren Juntang is indeed in charge of Junka Group. But no matter how much he is in charge, he can't be compared to Mr. Li next to me because he is the chairman of Junka Group. Chairman. This time, everyone in the room was shocked. Junka Group was a newly established company. Logically speaking, it couldn't be compared with the deep-rooted Yi family in Beijing. But because of Li Changxing's rising reputation and the support of Su Xiaolin and Qi Yu, Junka Group had been rising rapidly recently. Even the Golden Tree Group had to take the initiative to cooperate with it to gain benefits. Suddenly, countless eyes in the room looked toward Li Changsheng. The senior executives of the Golden Tree Group were all elites of society and naturally had a sense of pride. But no matter how elite they were still working for others. When they learned that Li Changsheng was the behind-the-scenes boss of Junka Group and was so young, they immediately looked at Li Changsheng with new eyes. The rise of Junka Group was discussed by everyone behind the scenes. The behind-the-scenes boss must be terrifyingly powerful. Otherwise, how could a company develop so quickly? As for Li Changsheng, he was the boss who knew everything. This made everyone else in the room feel inferior. Changsheng, I didn't expect Junka Group to be a company under your name. Yi Shuang was very satisfied with the expressions of the people in the room. It was as if Li Changsheng's achievements were her achievements, and she was proud of him. The young man who stood up and asked the question had a stiff smile on his face. He seemed to be asking for humiliation. So you're the chairman of Junka Group. You are really young and promising. The veteran surnamed Lu smiled at Li Changsheng. Although he looked a little embarrassed, he was different from the young man. He was old and shrewd, and his face and ability to adapt were much stronger. Mr. Li is not only the chairman of Junka Group, but also the sudden disappearance of the attack on our Golden Tree Group some time ago. It was also Mr. Li who helped to solve the problem. Yi Haoran threw out another bombshell. This time, it was obvious that everyone's eyes changed. The whole Yi family was besieged from all sides some time ago and suffered heavy losses. Even the head of the Yi family personally mobilized all parties to do nothing. As one of the biggest companies under the Yi family, the Golden Tree Group was also greatly affected. At that time, many people even secretly discussed that the Yi family would be finished. Suddenly, that force no longer went against the Yi family. It was even said that several important people personally went to the Yi family to apologize. Later on, There was news that the Yi clan had used a very powerful connection to avert this crisis. Many people were guessing who Yi Haoran found. The Yi family was already the biggest force in the capital, but they were still forced into such a difficult situation. The power of the big man they invited must be frightening. But who would have thought that it was the young man in front of them? If Li Changxing's identity as the chairman of Junka Group made people not dare to look down on him, then the fact that he helped the Yi family get through the crisis was already awe-inspiring. They didn't expect Rin Juntang to start cooperating with the Yi family. Although Junka Group was his own company, he didn't know as much about it as outsiders. However, for Li Changsheng, starting a company was originally to accumulate funds to buy medicinal materials for his own cultivation. Nothing else was important. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.